All right, good evening, everyone. Our apologies. We started a little bit late tonight, had an earlier meeting that ran late, but for good reason. So can we all stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's be seated. Right. Oops. We have a lot to get through tonight, and we have a couple of presentations. So let's get started right away. I have no changes on the agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you. Need approval of the minutes of February 4th. I've read them all. They all look good. Someone make a motion, please?
I move we approve the minutes from February 4th,
Jim makes the-
2026.
Second by Vinny. He's a little faster than tonight, John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Communication and correspondence. I have none, but Committee on Solidarity, they did reach out to me and said there's really been nothing significant that's happened other than they met with you, Scott, and said they had a fantastic meeting, very helpful, what they talked about. She'll submit the letter to the town shortly. But she said she came away understanding how much better with what you deal with, how you handle things, et cetera. So she wanted me to thank you again for the help that you and your officers do in town. So yeah, very, very good. So thank you very much for doing that. Any public comments?
For comment after the presentation on the speed enforcement, if so, I'll speak then, otherwise I would speak now.
I would speak now. It's not officially on here, so I would speak now. You got a chance? Yes.
Well,
Yeah, there's a public comment.
Public comment.
It's right at the end,
Yes.
but I'm not sure
Yes.
I want to stay that long.
Yeah. Oh, you might not.
Yeah.
She was saying that with her eyes. So.
Kathy Aaron, 23 Old Homestead Village. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight about making our roads safer for everyone. Whenever I'm driving, as you probably do, I see people speeding and running red lights. When I say speeding, I don't mean 5 miles over the limit, but 10 miles or more over the limit. I believe this is unsafe for the person in the car driving, as well as everyone else, excuse me, on the road. Other motorists, pedestrians, cyclists, people with mobility issues. And I'm sure, as I just mentioned, that you have also observed this behavior. Although I believe that Portland has increased their traffic enforcement through the use of our police officers, I don't believe that this has resolved this issue. Fortunately, we have technology that can enforce traffic laws through the use of red light and speeding cameras. As you may know, Middletown has installed 3 of the cameras, including one on Route 66. According to a Hartford Current article in January, in 6 months between July and December of 2025, 46,000 citations were issued at this one location. Middletown collected 1.8 million in fines for this period. Excuse me, Middletown Police Chief Eric Costa said it has changed the culture of driving in that part of the city. These sizable numbers tell the story of the magnitude of the problem. I believe the main reason for the cameras is safety, but certainly the income from the fines could be used to improve safety in other areas of our towns and cities. I strongly recommend that the Portland BOS move forward with obtaining approval for the use of these cameras and implement their use in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any more public comments?
Hello, I'm John Hall. I live at 555 Main Street, and I'm very happy to be able to comment on this presentation on traffic safety enforcement devices. I live right between Bartlett Street and Gildersleeve School. And, you know, I pull out of my driveway and no one's coming, and I turn onto Main Street and head downtown. And it's really not unusual at all for someone that I didn't even see when I pulled out of my driveway to be barreling up behind me, tailgating me, and even passing me because I'm going the speed limit. Right there in a school zone. They're coming up from the four corners and they're just barreling down. I share all the things that Kathy said about this. We've been concerned with many other residents here in Portland about speeding. I'll also say that just before this meeting, I was at a meeting in Middletown about safe streets for all. They're having a couple presentations, and I had an opportunity to speak with the Chief Eric Costa and the traffic enforcement Jeff Zaruda. And they both, and I had an opportunity to ask him a lot of questions, like up on Route 66 there, coming down from Middlefield. I said to the chief, do the cars just slow down because they know there's a camera there and then speed up? And he said, well, yeah, probably some people do that, but they've noticed that the speed along that whole stretch has really declined because he said what this technology is training people to do is pay attention to their speed and actually look at their speedometer because people just don't realize how fast they're going. And so traffic accidents along that Route 66 corridor coming into Middletown have declined, and speeding along that whole stretch, not just where the camera is, has really declined. And as Kathy mentioned, the revenue from this program is not the point of the program, but the revenue is to be used for infrastructure improvements to improve road safety, including for pedestrians and bicyclists. And finally, I'll just point out, I'm sure you know this, but I want to say it publicly. That stretch down there by Gildersleeve School, right just one house before us, is where the Sean Manning Highway begins. And I think, all of us were shocked by what happened, last year. And so I'm really excited that Portland is even considering this, and it's really working well in Middletown. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, Nick, anyone online? Oh, someone else, good.
My name's Christopher Darby, 110 Pepperidge Road. I've lived here in Portland for over 20 years, and I'm really excited to be a part of this community. And I love all the outdoor recreation that we have here, including cycling. I myself am an avid cyclist. I commute to work often by bicycle. I'm the one in the red bike that you all may have seen with the big panniers. I don't really start doing that until about April when it gets above 40, now that I'm older. That's when I start doing that. And then bike home. And then I also, thanks to the Herons and part of the pace car program, which I have to say forced me to be a much better role model as a driver. And it also has given me the chance to see how badly people drive. I'm going to say through this town. I always figure that everybody who blows through the light at 66 and 17 is from out of town, going 70 miles an hour. And the people that go 60 miles an hour down Main Street, or the people that go 60 miles an hour over the bridge where the speed limit is 35. And because I'm a teacher, I often am either the pace car for the school buses or right behind the school buses. And it's actually, I don't know, does it surprise me? It doesn't really surprise me how often I see people speeding and driving dangerously around buses. I know there's some issues with the legality around, having the town keep track of people's speeding offenses and such. But my goodness, what a wonderful way we could deter people from various dangerous intersections in this town. Right over here on Main Street, where we were talking about before, where that tragedy happened earlier. And then, of course, if you head out towards East Hampton, that is essentially a NASCAR track out there, and it's really dangerous. And I think if this community would like, which I have heard a lot about, to be sort of a wellness capital or wellness center, we need to cut down on the traffic safety problems. And I would say one more thing as a cyclist, there are two very active bicycle communities in both Middletown and Glastonbury. that are based around the bike shops that often they love riding through Portland. I know if you all don't bike often, you probably think, who would want to bike up all these hills? But trust me, a lot of people want to bike up all these hills. And it's really dangerous. There are certain streets where I will not ride as a cyclist, including, obviously Marlborough Street going out toward, toward the Dairy Queen and all that. That is a terrible section of highway for a cyclist. It might not seem like it, but there's so much speeding and people don't pay attention and they sort of don't expect people to be out there. And really the roads are supposed to be for everyone to use and enjoy, not just people who think that they're trying out for NASCAR races. So I would really appreciate it if we could adopt some safety measures, common sense, traffic cameras around here to sort of, make the road safe for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. All right. Any more comments? All right, thank you very much. All right, we have a couple proclamations and other things to do tonight. We may be reading waiving the readings, but we'll start with the new business proclamation for Gambling Awareness Month.
You just want a motion to,
Yeah, I mean,
all right, well, I'll make a motion that we adopt the proclamation titled Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Yeah, and I guess just the last, no, I think that's it. We'll waive, and that we waive the reading.
we'll wait the
I'll
readings.
second that.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. This will be posted on our town website. About the significance of gambling and how to avoid that situation. All right, police update, the LPRs.
Hey, good evening. Scott Cunningham, Captain, Portland Police Department. So, yeah, we actually finally have some movement on these LPRs. We lost a lot of traction back in July when Eversource changed their policies and no longer allowed us for free to put these cameras on their poles. So we had to pivot. We went to a lot of local businesses. They were all very receptive about allowing us to use their private property and hook up to their electricity. Using our cameras for our camera system. But as we sat and discussed things, we decided that probably wasn't the best way to go because they could change their mind at any point and ask us to remove the cameras. And then the camera at that point would be void to us. It would be no good. And each time you move a camera, you need to hire an electrician to have them come in, and there's a cost for that as well. So Sergeant Knapp here started to spearhead another campaign through utility communications for the recourse system. And we ended up turning to a solar system. So we returned all our old equipment, ordered new equipment, and we have since installed one camera on our police building that's going to monitor traffic in front of the police department. Peter from our tech department has upgraded our server system so that it can start to save the information. It'll have enough storage space on the servers to save the information for us. And then we've placed our order recently for our solar system, and we have identified the 3 points that we are going to install our how many cameras? 6 to 8 cameras, maybe 6 cameras total.
6 there and 2. Oh, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the locations, luckily enough, happens to be the pole that we hang our banners on. So there's no cost to install a pole there. That's a town pole, so we're going to slap them right on that.
Coming over the bridge, right?
Coming over the bridge, right in front of the gas stations there.
Do you know people know the ones that people are watching at home what LPRs are?
License plate reader cameras. Yeah, I'm sorry. So we have 3 sets of those, 3 locations for those, and then we have 2 locations for regular maintenance type cameras. We're reviewing the street. They don't read license plates, but we get footage of the roadways in those areas.
When you say that Eversource changed their policy, are they saying that you cannot put the device on the telephone pole itself? Or are they saying that they're not going to provide the electricity hookup for free?
They're saying
And the
they,
reason I asked that is because those telephone poles are actually joint owned
No,
between,
I know,
so
yeah.
there's a different animal there.
No, they want to start metering everything that gets put onto the pole.
Okay, so it's a
Bingo.
power issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that's what really whacked us.
So we could use the telephone poles in place.
Sure.
We just have to go solar. Okay.
Yeah. No, no, they want anything on their poles.
Oh, so
Yeah,
they,
so we're,
if it's
we are,
solar, we can't.
we have ordered aluminum poles to put in, 15-foot,
Okay,
20-foot aluminum poles to install at our locations. They didn't want
Huh.
to be responsible for anything on the pole that wasn't theirs or another utility company's. Is essentially what I was told from the rep at utility.
even in the municipal gain, which is guaranteed.
City of New Haven has over 200 mounted
Yeah.
cameras on utility poles.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what happened. They got whacked with some of these big cities with all these cameras and they said, time out, we can't do this anymore. Every time a pole gets hit, we're trying to swap everything around for everybody else and we don't want to be responsible for this anymore.
It's just interesting because I know that there's typically you've got, the comms gain and you've got the municipal, right? And that,
Yeah,
and in that municipal gain, there's usually some privilege there for the municipality. That's
did I
surprising
do
me a
the
little
research
bit.
on it? No, utility has gone to bat and they work very hard on all of this. And they know, they know Eversource very well.
Okay.
I will say one on a positive note, with the LPRs, this recourse system we have, we also have a software program that we just started using and, suffice to say, or very nice to say, is that we actually got 2 solves out of it already just this past week. One was that minor motor vehicle accident that, I think was posted on our Facebook page. We utilized the system and at one point, I would love to have the board come over to our department. We could just give you a brief demonstration on it, but we were able to set the parameters and determine where this car was and get a plate off it. And the second one was a larceny we had from the bottle shop on Main Street, where we were able to track where the car was, grab a plate off it, and locate the suspects for that one too. So I mean they're not huge grabs, but it was a real nice start for us for this week since we just got that program. So
So
Guys-
how do you use this? I mean, it's, the license plate readers, someone calls it in and says license plate VIN P1, just
No,
robbed a
it's
bank and it just says last seen at the corner of,
okay,
how do
so
you, how does it?
so how that
do it?
software program worked is we have a car with a description leaving a particular area at particular times. So with this software program we have through Recore, we can identify what towns we want that are in this program to search for certain parameters based on time, vehicle description, possible partial plate, whatever we may have. The more we enter in, the more defined
Oh, so it's
answer we
not
get.
license plate, you could, blue van.
Correct. You can get a whole
Yeah.
host of vehicles, and then you have pages and pages, reams of stuff that you have to go through. But as I said, the more information you give it, the more
Right.
defined it becomes.
Sure.
And then this is also a system that also gives us hits on stolen cars. Missing people, things of that nature. So as they roll through, they're coming into our town, we'll get a notification on our computers that we just got activated at this corner.
So you can get a call that says, Scott, your buddy was just on Washington Street at the car wash. Boom, you know where the car that meets
Yes,
your
if he's
description.
entered into the system, yes, into the collect system.
Yeah, it's good capability.
Yeah,
It's nice to see him
Yeah.
moving forward.
yeah.
And as you explained it in previous meetings,
Yep.
having these cameras, other towns with cameras support you and vice versa.
That's part of that software program I was talking. So we grabbed information from Glastonbury, from Middletown. Every place that has a recourse system, we can gather their information now.
You can kind of track where that car is going based on what the
Correct.
hits are.
Yep.
How long do you save the information for?
It depends on your storage capabilities. So there's nothing set that you have to keep it for 30
There's
days,
no law
45
that
days.
says
No, it
you
depends
can
on your
go back
storage
30
capacity.
days and.
Now, is the server owned by us?
Not the Recore cloud system is not.
Oh, okay.
The other two cameras.
but the other mounts are.
Currently upgrading server.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the PD server?
Yeah, one of our
And
servers in the
Roseanne's
basement. He
up.
found
Okay.
some space. He's
Okay.
throwing them in there.
I look forward to taking you up on the invite.
Yeah,
And seeing how
yeah.
it works.
Actually, Mike can get back to me with a few dates. We'll make
Sure.
sure, if it's before one of the meetings or something, we can bang it out real quick and then you guys can stop over here.
Thank you.
Okay?
Just
Any
one
other
quick question too. I know I've looked at some of the reports over the last month or two. It seems like you guys have been busy out there.
Okay.
A lot
Well,
more activity. I just.
if you want some numbers, I guess I'll throw real numbers at you real fast,
That's
okay?
great. That's right.
Let's see here. So we had 5,900 total cases, 24. Calendar year 24. Calendar year 25, we had 7,200 cases. Part of that, a lot more people are active. They're active now again, and we had the 13th officer. So we've had probably 6 months with 13 guys now. Wellness checks, EDP people with mental issues, mental health issues. That jumped up to 227 from 156. Our motor vehicle stops went up to 1,070. Last year they were 609. Motor vehicle arrests went from 7 to 45. Motor vehicle accidents went from 225 and 24 down to 173. So I think you're seeing a difference here based on some of the motor vehicle activity is people are starting to assess how they're driving because of that drop. And then overall arrests, we had 144, not including motor vehicle, and last year we had 74. So we had some pretty good jumps over the last calendar year. Yeah. You guys were pretty active.
Scott, how many calls of service do you normally get?
Well, we had 7,100, 7,200 for the year, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Really appreciate
Thanks for
it.
your
Thank you very
service.
much. All right, next up, speaking of cameras and all that kind of stuff, we've got Brendan Knox here from Data Tech. He's brought someone else as well. I guess you guys can both introduce yourself up there and start walking through the process. I will say, since last year, I've heard this from many people in town about speeding. I see, I'm on the roads as well. People drive too fast. They don't completely stop at stop signs. And it's something that, having seen what Middletown is doing, I thought it would be something at least worth starting the discussion. So tonight, what I'm hoping to get out of this is, again, feedback from residents on what they see out there, what the steps are. I know there's a number of towns in the area that have that. We'll probably invite Chief Costa to come here at one point in the future when we're ready to take next steps to discuss his practical results. But I think it's worth the discussion. And I think if we can change behavior, the goal for me, I think, and talking to everyone here, is we want people not to speed, right? It's not about the tickets, it's not about, but if we can change behaviors, that's the goal. And there's other things we can do as well. We want cyclists to not be fear of their lives while they're riding on the roads, and much more. And as we get the airline trail through Portland and through downtown, we'll have more walkers along the roads as well. So, anyways, but with that, I appreciate you coming out and flying all the way.
Yeah, no. I love coming to Connecticut. I've been spending last few years out here. My name is Brandon Knox. I'm from Tech. I handle all business development for the company. This is actually Dan Psycho. He's retired law enforcement as well. He's one of our customer success people. He's coming with me today. We're just visiting clients throughout the week, and then he's obviously being a part of this. So
yeah, so Brandon's going to show you everything about this. But I support this program. I come from 25 years in law enforcement, retired, and got a great job with this company that I actually used at my agency. I did crash reconstruction and traffic enforcement, so this campaign is true to my heart. It's going to save lives. That's the most important thing. So leave it over to Brandon.
Thank you, everyone. So, like Dan said, so Speed Enforcer is ultimately the product. Okay, so I'm from Tech. We are the founders of Speed Enforcer. We work in collaboration with TAPCO, who is also Traffic Logics. Traffic Logics, if you guys are aware, they are actually the company that won the T2 program. They are the ones that issue all of the radar feedback signs, speed humps, traffic safety related. And then TAPCO, I believe, when I met with them last week, I think they have roughly around 50% of all the wrong way signals. So with us working in collaboration and having a partnership with them, They're very, very, very high professional grade set of people that work in the traffic and parking control arena. So it was great to partner with them on this product. Next slide, please. Next slide. Again, exactly what First Selectman just said there. This is one of the photographs that came out of our system. And this is in Illinois. Illinois, they have laws that are allowing Chicago to do ASE, but they're going to slowly expand this. But some of the communities even use this for just warning systems. They're trying to get the word out to people, but ultimately they're trying to stop this behavior right here. This is the Honda at the top is doing 53 and a 25 in a school zone, and they're passing. This person, ultimately, they did use some of the predictive analytics in the back office of the software to find out who they were with a traffic stop, and it was a high school kid. The good thing is that since then, he has not proceeded to get another warning. He might either moved on and went to college, but they definitely had a very kind, gentle conversation with him about this and showed it to him, and his parents were actually very happy. They wrote the PD a note saying, thank you for taking care of this situation and making him aware of it. But this is ultimately the behavior we're trying to stop. Next slide, please. Automated enforcement, it's not one solution. So with DOT, I mean, for years, if you kind of think about it, DOT has multiple different measures on how to slow people down, whether it's engineering, hit the button. There's a couple of graphics here. Radar feedback signs, T2 program, hit it again. DOT has signage. This is stuff you guys see every single day. You get people to slow down. We're trying to ultimately get the message across. But probably the third lines of defense is speed enforcement. Allowing another tool, as they like to say, a force multiplier, to allow the PD to not only do traffic stops, but have the ability to have coverage on all the roads and getting their point across. Next piece, too, which is ultimately ends up in a traffic stop. If you end in a traffic stop, it's a very different violation type than it is with this type of system. This is a civil violation. It's kind of like treated like a parking ticket. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're trying to get their point across without ultimately getting to the traffic stop itself. If they do, again, it's a very different conversation. Next slide, please. Initial launching of programs. This is obviously, it's a process, okay? CTDOT took this very, personally when they wrote and helped write the legislation that got passed through your state in 2023. They did a fantastic job. I'd actually say it's one of the best legislations that's out there in the market across all 50 states because they do have oversight. They take care and make sure that we are running this program to a T. And the first thing is community hearings, establishing an ordinance, obviously procuring a system. Then you go through the DOT process, meaning you have to submit a permit, which is on public record. If you guys want to look them up, it's on their website. You'll see my permits on there from Middletown, Marlboro, Beacon Falls, Washington. Washington was one of the first programs to be established. But that process takes a lot of data. It's traffic studies, crash data, traffic stop data, engineering the road, scale drawings. So it's a very, very in-depth permit. And then we go ahead and we get obviously permits for right-of-ways and things like that for the construction. But that's also the installation of hardware and then configuring the software, which the gentleman that just spoke on my behalf here a second ago, he's the one that helps you guys do that as we move through the program. To add extra locations, you go back to DOT, they use your initial permit and you just ask for another site. We got to run studies again. We get trash data, everything to support it. And then they just add it back into the initial permit process. Okay. So again, DOT has a lot of oversight on this, which is not a bad thing. I think it's great to have. Next slide. Once that's all done and the program has been launched and established, you basically have these three separate sections. I would say the first one is capturing a violation. That comes from the camera itself. Processing the violations, and then the violator pays, appeals, or ignores. The one cool thing about my system is that I can handle this from back to front to back. It's a full turnkey solution, meaning It will not only capture the violations, help you process them, send them out to the public, but it also allows their people's due process. That's what ultimately my company is a due process machine. We've been doing local courtroom management for over 26 years. So the cool thing is that we're not just a processor that can send a bunch of tickets out in the mail. That's not our goal. Our goal is to offer people proper due process. And we really, really harp on that because statutorily, I'm confined by it. So if I don't follow the law of the land, then those tickets are void and then the program is kaput. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's all done lawfully. Next slide. Hey, you're gonna have to move through a couple. Yeah. I said that way too fast. Go ahead. All right, so these are what the cameras look like. Your whole thing on solar. These are solar. So if we have Eversource is the company, I assume that's the power company.
Yeah.
It's like my ComEd out of Illinois. And I get it. I understand. But the cool thing is that the TAPCO company that supplies the cameras themselves, they're one of the few in the industry that actually allows a solar solution and an AC hardwire. The other thing is night vision IR in color, the mounting. This is what the installation in Washington looks like. So again, it's very professionally done, breakaway poles. My third-party vendor comes in, they do all the installations for you guys. And then it obviously can operate in -40 to 140. These have been tested down in, I think, out of country, even in Ecuador. The highest elevation is up in like Newfoundland, Canada. So they can operate in very harsh temperatures. The guys are not having the greatest weather today, obviously, but they are operating perfectly fine. I saw them today in Marlboro. Next slide. Okay, so this is what the system actually looks like on the road. So I don't know if some of you have driven past on Route 66 or through Marlboro on 66, where those cameras are at. Go ahead and hit it. Got a little Middletown and Marlboro, both. Yeah, we work with both. This is what statutorily has to be followed. All of this signage has to be put in place before you even have a camera. So everybody's seeing these signs before they even get to the point. And this is roughly pushed back to 1,000 feet before you even hit the camera. Also, DOT will submit this up to Waze, Apple Maps, Google Maps. I've driven around. I've seen them pop up on my map. If I'm using my map, it will tell you when the cameras are coming, kind of like the red lights. So you're being notified way in advance before you even hit the actual camera itself. But that's what a typical system looks like. Go ahead, next slide. Data. You guys talked about this a second ago. Data is yours, okay? So the data is stored in Microsoft Azure Government Cloud. It is your own independent cloud. So when we set up a client for the first time, you get your own individual data sets. We're not commingling it with other communities because it's for your community. Those citations are written for your community, not for others, for them to see. So we're not sharing data. I am bound contractually to not allow data sharing because I know it's becoming a hot topic and we want to make sure that it stays in this system, okay? The other piece is that I'm really governed and bound by inlets. Inlets is a 50-state repository. That's where all the registered owner information comes from. So when I send these off, that's how I get the registered owner information for the communities that pre-populates in the system for ultimately the officers to issue the citations. We are CJIS compliant, SOC 2 compliant, but at the end of the day, the data stays in the community. It's not going anywhere else, okay? Next slide. This is what was ultimately built. I will kind of let you go through, thumb through a couple extra ones here. This is just the software solution communicating, but really it's broken down into 3 easy steps. One is confirming the violation. So again, that's actually on my end as Tech. We have retired law enforcement that review the citations as they come in. They clean them up. They make sure all the plate data is correct. All the image sets are correct. They will never send anything over to the PD that is not prosecutable in a court of law. Okay, so we take that very seriously. Again, we are a due process machine first and foremost. Secondly, once we get the registered owner information, everything is collected, evidence, it's sent over to the PD. They can now take an action, whether it's sending a citation, issuing a warning, or rejecting it altogether. There are rejection codes for all different tort types. Believe me, there's can't see in the image, sun glare, overexposure, there was a bike rack in the way, there's snow on the way, whatever it might be. That's all your information. Again, you will have transparency across this entire system and how it works, but ultimately we want to make sure that we are tracking this so we can get better as a company, and we can also make sure that the community is getting the utmost service on that end especially.
When
And
you're
then-
talking about that right there in
Yes.
that evaluation, how does that work? For example, if we have, volunteer fire, right? We have people that may be responding or other people. Does the system detect those vehicles, or does it get rejected manually through there?
So there's two ways you can handle that, okay? So typically, most communities, the way they're handling it is, they're saying, okay, go ahead and approve it, and then when it gets to step 2 with the police and they see it's a fire vehicle or an ambulance or whatever it might be, they're gonna say, reject it, it was an ambulance, it was on a call, and then that is done on your guys' end. I don't wanna be the arbiter of that, because again, I'm a software solution. I'm not the person that ultimately can issue the violations or dictate that, but really, at the end of the day, there is only 6 ways to contest these violations statutorily. One of them was emergency vehicles. So if it does come through, we can whitelist and say, okay, give me all the ambulances or the fire trucks. We can do that, but it's up to your discretion. You'd have to be able to sign off on and say that that's okay and put it in your ordinance or however you guys want to write that. So again, I don't dictate that, but I have capabilities of filtering it out if you want to.
Thank you.
Okay. Lastly is sending notices. So after the action's taken, it gets kicked back over to the Dacrotech software solution team, and we ultimately send it through our mailing houses. Next slide. I'm going to talk on the software a little bit. This is what it looks like in step 1. So again, we have the images. We have a dual OCR. OCR is optical character recognition, kind of like your RECOR you just spoke about. It's like an LPR. So the system can read the plates as well as the camera, but we do it in a dual option because when we send this to inlets, we want to make sure the plates are correct. We're trying to keep as many pieces in place that always make sure the information is good, it's not bad, so that we're not sending out tickets that could ultimately be voided. Okay, we want to be correct and accurate. It will also pull in make, model, color, time, date, stamp, location, and then it'll tell you how fast the person was going, what the speed limit was, and then it'll even do the math of the overspeed. It'll also tell you some of the instances when this person's been seen multiple times speeding. So again, that's information that's good for the PD to understand when they're issuing these violations. Next slide. This is what it looks like in step 2. So then we can pull it into this modal, and now you have all the information that was on the other screen. Plus now we have money tied to it because obviously it's a violation. And on the right-hand side is now the make, model, color, and owner information. And then you can obviously zoom in and out of these images, make sure that they're correct. I actually believe this is Route 66 right there. So that is an image from Route 66. The cameras do have the ability to cover multiple lanes as well. So they use LiDAR detection and they have 16 beam technology. So imagine 16 beams going across the road. That's why they can detect multiple cars at the same time. Next slide.
Does it do, you say multiple lanes? Do you need a camera in each direction if you're doing that, or can one camera
Correct.
bank cover the whole?
No, so in terms of all the camera solutions that are out there, every one of them, you need another camera.
It's gonna be just
It's
one
line of
direction.
sight, yeah. So like there, if you go to the Middletown location and even in Beacon Falls, they put it in the median, there's 2 cameras, one going in each direction. Good question. This is what the notices look like. Here's a warning notice. We used a behavioral scientist to design these for us to make sure that that's easy to read, legible, easy on the eyes. And it kind of directs you in the ways of saying, hey, we want to be compliant, but we understand what ultimately happened. These warnings are kind of cool because during the warning period, if you guys don't want to issue 1 million warnings to everybody in the beginning, you can say, okay, let's issue after 3 times they violated. And down here at the bottom, we'll even tell you how many times they've actually violated. So that's a nice thing. It's another piece that's pushing information into the person's hands and saying, hey, this wasn't the first time you sped. Just please slow down. That's ultimately what we're trying to get conveyed. The QR codes are really nice. This is what takes you to Citizen Portal, which I'll discuss here in a little bit. That is where the citizens will ultimately manage their violations that they get. They can pay them, they can appeal them, they can contest them, they can request a hearing. You can do a lot of different things from that point, but the requesting in the hearing process is nice because then you can upload digital evidence on your own, the reasonings of why you're contesting, And that's a really big piece. So understanding that is huge, but we want to make sure QR codes are being used to take you right to it. URLs can be put on the websites as well. And any other campaign information you want to put on your websites, we're gladly to help you guys out. We've done it with a multitude of our clients. Next slide. This is what our citizen portal looks like. Again, snapshots, you can access it through your phone, through desktops. And then ultimately, here's your contesting forms where you can upload digital evidence and ultimately kind of plead your case online. So if you're contesting it, there's only going to be a couple reasons. Like I said, there's only 6. I can send that to you statutorily. It's basically emergency vehicles, if your vehicle's been stolen, calibration. Also, I'll talk about that too. During installation process, third-party calibration is done by an engineering firm. And then those are uploaded into the back office of the system. So every single citation, if they go into here, they're going to go into the evidence package and they can see the calibration certificate. Now, if it's void and it's not good, then that's bad. But we're going to make sure that those are done every single year. If the camera is moved, you have to calibrate again. Just so you guys know. So we want to make sure it's just like your radar detection. They have to calibrate all the time. We're going to do the same exact thing with these cameras. Next slide. Then we're going to get into some of the data. So this is a scenario in Middletown, since you're so close. The warning program started, it looked like this person did about 5 violations. Now, some of them are pretty egregious, 20 over the speed limit. And then when they went into the citation part of the program, looks like they did another, I think it was 16. And you can hit there's a graphic. So you had 7 reckless, which was 20 over. You had 9 that were 15 to 20, 10 to 15, or 10 to 15, 5. So 21 just in a matter of a month. And that's who was doing it. Oh. Not to call anybody out. This is ultimately who the person was. Now I don't know what kitty cabs is. I heard it's like Uber for kids. Like taking them to and from schools, what I understand. But this is the type of stuff that they wanted to stop. So it's a shock and awe thing, but at the same time, even if it was just a regular citizen, it doesn't matter. I mean, in 30 days, if you're doing that many times over the speed limit, going to and from, that's behavior that can't be condoned. And again, hearing some of your stories tonight, I was like reinvigorated a little bit about some of the Middletown stories that I've heard, and you guys sound like you have some of the similar issues. Next slide. And as we dug into the Middletown data, so from their initial study, so this data, again, they focused on 20 and over the speed limit to begin with, because they wanted to target the reckless driving first to make sure that it was a priority and that they could allow their officers to handle the amount of volume that's going on Route 66. It's a 4-lane highway, so there's a lot of volume going through, but they were able to reduce that by 94% in just about 60 days. It was pretty fast. And the cool thing is that, and I'll show you in the next slide, is that the compliance level started going up too. So from study to live system, this was when the study happened. This is when warning program happened, and then citation. So you can kind of see it as it went. It just continually tapered off over time. I know they've lowered their thresholds, and the same exact amount of events that are happening every single day, they're tampering it down. And like First Selectman said, it is crossing into the other towns, because I don't think people understand that. Do they have cameras? Do they not have cameras? So even if they don't have them, they're second guessing themselves and they're slowing down, which is a good thing. Next slide. And then this was the compliance data. So camera goes, initial data, camera goes in. Now I got to give Chief Costa a lot of credit. He put a really fancy, nice sign in front of it saying this camera is here. He made it very apparent. And that's why I think he had probably a good story to tell, because he was able to basically take his study, the initial study, and tamper the speeding down almost and cross the Rubicon even before they got the citations. This was warning period. And they actually had a higher compliance level than people non-compliant during the warning period, which was a fantastic thing to hear, because that's what they were ultimately trying to do. And that was out even hitting anybody's pocket at that point in time. I think they're up close to around like 55, 60% compliance level. Again, you're never gonna stop speeding altogether, but they need another tool. They need something out there. There's 13 officers, I believe he said, 13 guys. Some of this data, I mean, 13 people can't do it all. So they need more efficient ways to get their point across. Next slide. And that's all I got. I did pull some of the data. I did send it to Michael regarding some of the data I pulled from CTDOT. If he can share that with you guys, just so you guys understand. Anytime we go into communities, we run a pro bono traffic study on all the locations that you guys select. So when we run that, it has a dual purpose. A, it can be recorded back to you to show you what your speeding issue might look like. But then secondarily, it's used for CTDOT permitting. So it's a big piece of actually saying, do we have a speeding problem or not? Or do we need to go somewhere else? Or do we need another course of action? So that study is no cost to the city. It is something that you can do very easily. It only takes a couple of days. Obviously, we want to do it when days are not snowing because snow plows might hit the tubes that are on the ground, but that is a definite next course of action to seek if you want to see the data. But I do have some of the data points that I pulled from CTDOT's site, and I did send it to the selectmen. So if you want to disperse that to them,
Sure.
by all means.
Yeah, I mean, you can discuss a little bit of the numbers, just.
Yeah, so-
because it was interesting.
So yeah, I was a little sobering. I knew Middletown had some speeding issues. I didn't know if it was going to trickle into Middle or Portland, but it did. When DOT is reviewing their these permits that get sent up to them, they heavily emphasize on the 85th percentile. I looked at 4 different locations. I think it was one on North Main Street area, Indian Hill. There were some corridors on Route 66. Every single one of them had double digits. So it was like 12 to 17 miles an hour on the 85th percentiles, meaning that's how fast they were going. So there is an issue. You do have a lot of daily traffic coming through to and from, especially for cyclists. Yeah, DOT would look at it and say, yes, this is a viable program. This is something that you guys need to pursue to help tamper down the behavior. But, and I know the first selectman wanted me to talk about the money aspect of it. The money is always going to go back into traffic safety. So anything that is spent, and it's statutorily required. So if you go ahead and any revenue that comes in from the system ultimately has to go back into traffic safety. Okay. So it could be road improvements. It could be radar feedback signs, speed humps, anything you guys want to use it for, but it has to go towards traffic safety. That's what traffic safety, correct. And it can be used to pay for the system. Now, it is a violator funded system. Okay, so the way our contracts work is basically the violators are ultimately funding the system. There's no capital expenditure that comes out of the pocket of the city, and there's no big expenditure to put all the cameras in. So it's all violator funded.
Couple of,
Okay.
no, so a couple of things. You noted that in step 2, right, that our PD would have to evaluate and decide whether or not something's gonna be. How long does it take to process each one of those? I look at, obviously I don't expect a volume of 42,000 in Portland, right?
Sure, yeah.
But we also have 13 ounces. How long is that gonna take them to process each violation?
So the typical, and that's why I have Dan here, he gives me the stats all the time. So a typical processor can do about 120 to 125 in an hour is what they can process. Now, again, when we roll these programs out, and I kind of explained this a while ago, is you can permit for multiple locations, but always roll the program out so it's not going to consume every single waking moment of your day. Go to and look at the locations and say, okay, we're going to put a camera here, then we're going to slow roll, but we might just focus on the egregious speeding in the beginning. Okay, you guys set the rules. I don't, which is great because then you guys can work at the pace that you want. And I'm okay with that. I think that's the best way to do it. The community will accept it the best, but ultimately at the end of the day, they can do about 120 an hour is really what it comes out to.
And then the other question is, anytime you have that infrastructure on the side of the road, it can be hit. What happens if there's an accident that actually damages the equipment itself? How is that handled?
So we have some SLAs in place where we will take care of the damage of the pole and everything that we put in. And that is under the maintenance guarantees that we have put in place. I mean, if it takes, we can have a call up and, we usually respond within 24 hours, but they'll have that back up and running. And depending on the site and what it looks like, could be back up and running within a week.
Okay.
So it all depends on the site.
That's all included then as part
That's
of the
all
service.
included. Yeah, that's included in the services and the warranties. Anything, we've had some people damage them, we'll come out, you know, people will hit them or something like that. But again, they're up about 14 feet in the air. We haven't had many people messing with them, honestly. It's not where people mess with them is there is a trailer version of this and it's on the ground. That's when people mess with them. That's when you get the kids screwing with them and stuff like that. But nobody here in the state has looked at the trailer version and saw it as a viable option. It's mostly out in like mountain towns like Colorado and places.
Are you capturing data for cars that are compliant? But, you know, speed limit's 35, somebody's going through 32. Does it even take a photo for future use? Or are you just saying, we have a 10 mile per hour, anybody 35 plus 10, anybody 45 and over, if that's what you guys decide, you're only taking a photo of that car.
Great question.
You can kind of go where, see where.
Oh yeah, no,
where
100%,
my thought is
100%,
and
no.
how I feel.
So here's one of the other things too. So after 18 months that the program's in place, the DOT is going to need the data from the system itself and how it worked. And they're going to show you basically a scorecard of like, this is what happened. Anybody that's compliant, all it's doing is counting that a car went past it. It's not taking a photo unless you trigger it that you were speeding. That's when it takes the photo. If you go past it, nothing. It just counts it just as a clicker like, yep, car went by. That's all it's doing. And that's good because you need that data because that's the benchmark of like how people are being compliant or not compliant. That's really what we need.
I spoke to some of the Ulster people during a meeting at DOT, and I was, I guess, pleasantly surprised that they're in favor of this program. They're encouraging it because it does act as a force multiplier for the folks out there, and it does have a real impact. Most people may not know it's $50 ticket, and then second is 75. It caps out at that. Can you walk through that part of it?
Yeah. So the fine structure is it's a $50 ticket. It's 75 on the next violation. Now, I pointed this out in a meeting once. The data currently can only be stored for 30 days after due process is fully given or case file is closed out. That's how they read the legislation. So if you currently get a citation, you might not, unless you speed again like the next week, you wouldn't get the $75 increase. I brought that up to some of the state reps. They're aware of it. They're addressing it from a data standpoint because they're like, okay, well, what's the point of having an escalation if I don't have the data anymore to support it? So it is 50 and then 75 on the second, and then you can charge a $15 admin processing fee on top of it, which most of the communities are. I believe Middletown did 9, but most of the other communities are doing 15. So basically it's a $65 ticket total.
Of the people that get tickets, how many pay it, how many fight it? What's been the real numbers out there?
I'll actually ask Dan this question, but our collection rate currently, not ours, but the town's collection rate is going right around 70-75% people are paying the tickets. In terms of dockets, how many people are on a docket occasionally?
Dockets, Middletown, for example, their first couple of hearings, they had maybe 10 people present, but that's in person. That's phase 2. There's a 2-step process. One is the contest online, which they can go online, do their case, such as, so sorry, I was worried that you were.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's a great question. So the way it works is there's a 2-step process. You can go online, use the portal, contest it. One of those 6 reasons that are in the legislation. Some don't read that, and they say that you hear all kinds of stories, such as I had to use the restroom, or I was running late to work. Some of those stories, and you can review it, and you can actually dismiss it right then and there, keep it from going to court. If you find them liable, then it opens up the portal where they can then go and request an in-person hearing. So essentially they're getting 2 shots to contest this. And the second one is what counts. If they're found liable in court on the second one, then they have 35 days to contest it to a higher level court, a superior court. Then after that, it's null and done. If they don't pay, it ultimately ends up in collections if the town chooses to do so.
Does this show up as a speeding ticket, or is it just like a
Not
fine?
So
So your insurance company
No, sir.
won't know about it,
No.
but you still gotta pay your $50.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
That's all civil.
Yes, okay. No points on the record. None of that.
And that's different than how it works today, right? If
Yeah.
it's,
For speeding or.
you get someone on your gun.
Yeah.
It's insurance finds out. Okay, so that is different.
Right, right.
That's a big deal.
And that's declared on the citation. So,
Okay.
well, if they read it, it's like, I got a break.
Correct. So this kind of goes based on that one slide I had where it was signs, radar feedback, speed enforcer, now it's them. That's a much different offense when it gets to them. Thank you, Dan.
So what is the town's financial gain from it?
In terms of
What do they get from a $50 ticket?
typically with the admin processing fee being put in place, that typically covers all the costs and services that I provide. So majority of the time you're getting right around the full amount of the fine amount.
How
So
does it
so
work?
that's why people put the administration fee on it. So they get the full amount and
It
that
was,
covers you.
it was, and I asked some of the state reps on that, the spirit of the legislation was to do that, to help cover some of the costs, so that the full fine amount was ultimately gonna go to the municipality, not a vendor.
So that triggers when there's a ticket for
Mhm.
violation, right? Now, what happens if that violation is cleared? The municipality still has a cost for having that been processed, but doesn't collect? Like, how's the?
Meaning like if it was void, like a void.
Yeah,
ticket,
well,
or-
right, there's two things, right? One, if you can basically say, oh, you know what, too much glare, you really can't confirm it,
Yeah,
right? How does that work? Does the municipality still get a fee for that having been sent, or is that also
the
voided?
services are only rendered if it's sent out. So if it gets rejected in step 1 or step 2, we do not charge for it.
Okay,
You want to charge for the.
so once we deem it was appropriate and we send it,
Mhm.
then when we get into the whole collection thing, that becomes a different animal.
Correct,
Okay.
because there's mailing costs and like my service fees are based on lookups, mailings, processing, court closure costs, citizen portal, adjudication, all that. But it technically starts when it's sent. So if it doesn't get sent, then
Okay.
it's kind of just a void. We don't charge for it.
So in the adjudication process where somebody contests it and they go to the hearing, does your company send someone to that hearing, or are you available for the hearing? How does that work?
In terms of like a expert witness testimony,
Yeah.
kind of, we can offer that, yes. Does it come up often? No.
So pretty much, I mean, it's an open and shut. The
Yeah.
hearing officer can follow whichever way they choose.
Yeah, your legislation was very clear on contesting rules because they only have 6. Now, if you go in other states, it's like you could contest it under anything under the moon, but they were like very stringent of like, you gotta fit in these 6 or else you're liable. So.
Any other questions?
If the town moved forward with it, how long would it take to implement it and get it running?
Yeah, it's a great question. So implementation wise, I mean, right now, we're kind of at the mercy of DOT. About 60 days just to get that permit. Like when you submit it to them, it's about 60 days to get it actually done. So when you sign an eventual contract with us, you're probably looking at an implementation phase to get to violations. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 months. And that's if the OST office is cooperating, or if they're not bogged down with more DOT. I know when New Haven put in theirs, their permit was 360 pages. Because they had like 20 plus locations. They were doing red lights and speed, and it took up a lot of time. So like one of our little locations got basically put to the side until they could finish that one. But I know they put some more resources in place with engineers to be looking at these because they know more cities are going to start applying for permits.
Does your company do red light as well or just speed?
We actually are in the process of getting the red light solution operated. Again, from a back office standpoint, it's a similar process. It's just more of a camera solution, and we're TAPCO, our partnership. They actually, from what we understand, they're very, very close.
I've had discussions with Chief Costa in Middletown and our captain as well, and the other officers. In Middletown, he's liked it because it's helped reduce the speed down. People are aware of it. It's made sense. Whatever money is a secondary has helped with traffic safety. He was also surprised that there was less contention at the meetings when they had meetings, and most of them were like the ones that came tonight were in favor of it. The most noise was on social media. And it was a small group making a lot of noise. Whereas most people who have dealt with bad drivers or speeding. We're there to kind of support it. So, was that your experience with the other towns? In short, because I'm sure you probably attended some of the meetings that were there.
Yeah.
So walk us through maybe a next phase or two, what to.
Yeah. So your next phase is, I mean, from the towns that have passed it and got their ordinances through, overwhelming support. Everybody who's usually on board with everything. Yeah, there's a couple people that are like, oh, I don't want people. It's because they don't want tickets. It's not a matter of, hey, that they're upset because they're gonna get a ticket. But majority of it was, if you listen to the actual first public hearing of Middletown, it was you times 30.
Yeah.
That's what we heard. So it was very, very overwhelming supported. In terms of the process, it's now you go to public hearing, you listen to the public, just like you kind of did already, and you come up, you say your piece, you talk about the programs of what you're gonna do, and then you pass an ordinance. Then once ordinances is passed, we actually have to submit your ordinance along with your permit and your public hearing minutes to the DOT, saying that you voted on it, you're okay with it. And then when we go through the permit process, you guys have to vote on it again to say, are we gonna submit this up to DOT? So those are kind of your next steps. And obviously in that process of ordinance, choosing a vendor, obviously contract approvals and things like that. If you are to go with us, that would happen at that time as well. So first step I would say is more traffic studies. Get the data in your guys' hands so you can see it.
Anything else? I really appreciate both of you coming out
No.
tonight. This has been really helpful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We
A lot of good
appreciate your
questions
time.
here too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think it's fair to say that our officers support something like this. Yeah, please. Please.
That was gonna be one of my questions.
God bless you.
Once again, Scott Cunningham, Portland Police Department. Yes, as an officer and a resident of the town, I strongly support a program like this. And just to be clear, any information that's obtained, that cannot be used for any investigative purposes. That's what the LPRs are for. So we don't get any of that plate information, any of that vehicle information to use for anything other than a ticket for speeding. Okay, I know that can be a concern for some people, but, and I just want to make that clear, that cannot happen. It's written right in the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good point. Thank you.
I have one question while you're here
Yeah.
too. If it was with this company or another company,
Mhm.
do you think it would be worth us looking into red light cameras? Because we know like High Street and
Bobby, everything
66
will
and
help.
17 and 66 are horribly known for.
Everything will help. Yeah. I don't think you can lose doing any of this.
Right. Much appreciated. All right, see Joe and Michelle are here as well. So next up, we're gonna talk about leasing town property. Joe, Michelle, you gonna talk tonight? You might as well get up there. So let me preface this, and while we're doing this, I'm gonna pass this around. Bobby, can you take one sheet and then pass it back down here? Same thing with this. And same thing with this. It's a copy of the property plus 2 sample contracts. Send it back down. Jim,
What?
pass this down to you. That's a letter from someone. Just take a copy of that and then send it back down. This one's gonna go opposite direction.
That makes sense.
Take that.
Yes, that makes-
Here, get same.
Different?
This should be.
Takes one.
Take one and pass it down.
Here's another one.
Take that gas back.
You
Look
go
up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
These are just some letters.
Do you want to get this one yet?
Yep. Yep.
There's another contract.
Oh,
a sample. A lot of paperwork tonight.
Gee,
Not environmentally friendly, is it?
no,
But
it's
important.
not.
So while we're passing paper around, tell you a quick story about why we're here today. So Joe came to me a couple months ago, August, a lot of
It
months
does
ago.
feel like it was only.
It seemed like yesterday. And he had asked to try to find a place for his flower farm to grow on town property. And we looked at one place, we had some discussions about that before, and that changed the discussion. When he came to me, I love the idea. I love the idea of using town property that's being unused for a better benefit. Can we do something better with it? So it appealed to me. And as a result of that, I took a look at whether the town had done that before. And the town has leased property both for farming and other causes in the past in town. I've also checked with some of the towns around us, Middletown, Killingworth, East Hampton, et cetera. Many smaller farming communities, also larger ones. And it has been a practice in the past to do that. It is still done now. And it's done for whatever the normal cost would be per acre, whether it's growing crops or growing trees or it's doing flowers or whatever. So there is a history there. I have heard from the fellow board of selectmen members here that there's a concern about whether we're setting a precedent. Could someone else, then vie for it and say it's unfair that you are doing it or she's doing it or Bobby's doing something when they can't. And because we're the deciding, the decision makers of the town and what we do, and we get a chance to hear that, I thought that was a good concern, but I think it's something that we could control in terms of deciding best use for town property. And if it's something on the shorter term, whether it's 3 years and then year renewable, depending on the project or something else in the past, to me, that seemed like just more details that we could work out on individual basis. So with that, I like the new area that you picked as a possibility. It has a history where it used to be a playscape earlier. Before then, it was nothing. It was just dirt, and they filled it in. It became a place where Eversource, I think, planted trees that had to be planted when they cut another tree down. So there's some history to that, but I like the idea of a better use. So I wanted to kind of tee it up for you before you talk, because it's not just about your specific ask. It's about perhaps other land in town that might have a better use. And I thought it would kind of triple a larger discussion. So what I hope happens tonight is a lot of questions. Some of them may be pretty hard in terms of why and where and the whole bit. But I think you guys are kind of the trailblazers for what might be something we do maybe more with different property that's unused. Again, the whole intent, I think, and I hope I can bring some of the other members along, maybe all of them, is that we have to look at each parcel and decide whether it's in the best interest of the town. Does it make it a better town? Does it create more use of it? If it's being unused now, what can we do to make that better? So with that in mind, please talk a little more about what you have.
All right, so just to start, we if you're not familiar with us, we're right next to the town hall. We're at the red house
Name and
right in the
address,
corner,
too.
2 Highland Avenue, in Portland. My name's Joe Engel.
I'm Michelle Engel, same place.
So we have all the flowers that are going right in the corner of Highland Avenue and Fairview Avenue. It's kind of hard to miss us if you visit town hall in the summertime. It started off just as a passion project, more or less just growing for fun. Just like anything, it starts to get expensive. And I said to
It's
Michelle,
been an expensive hobby for the last couple years, and I've really just decided this is what I want to do. Then it brings us a lot of joy, and we
So
can
eventually it
feed
came
our
to-
kids. Yeah.
it came to the point where it's like, we have to do something with this. And we started selling our flowers. We have a classic pickup truck that we built into a flower truck that we bring to farmers markets. We do Milford Market, Manchester Market, a couple other lobster fests down by the shore. We are hoping that with the Portland market coming in, we haven't seen anything as far as registration for that yet, but hopefully that is coming along. We're gonna be a part of that. We're a part of the Brownstone Forum this upcoming year.
Last year was the year that this business took off for us. We started getting involved in weddings, special events, pop-up events, being asked to supply flowers for a lot of different things.
Baby
And-
showers.
Yep.
So it just exploded, and everything that we were producing was coming off of 0.2 of an acre that included a house on it. So there was no room to spare, which is great, but we are now at the point where we need to take the next step, and we looked into purchasing land outright. Being a farm and not a developer or somebody that's looking to put some sort of a large business on, the land the market's not there right now. So talking with other farmers that we have a community with, somebody actually from, I believe it was down by the shore, it's just, hey, why don't you go to your town? There are a lot of towns that lease land out for farmers for this purpose. So that's when I approached Mike. And going through all of this process from here, we found a piece of property that I think we brought to you guys early or late in the summer, down by the river trail. Didn't happen to work out, which is fine. There's always redirection. It's always just, means that you have to go somewhere new. And we ended up finding the property down in Nolan Field, which is, if you're not familiar with it, there's a field, just an empty grass
Right,
area
Softball field.
next to the baseball field. So, we're talking, Mike came down and looked at it with me and said, oh, this is great. It's unused right now. I believe, we talked with, his name's escaping now, but the grounds crew head.
Nate,
Nate, yes, Nate. And, Nate said, yeah, we don't do anything with it. It's just mowed. So we are looking to put in place, I know Mike actually, it was a good, point that you brought up about, maybe other, people feeling, how do I take advantage of this, and where do we go from here? So a couple things that we had brought up was, this isn't something that we're just doing as a community garden type thing, because that was kind of the first impression I think people got when they heard that this is what we want to do. This is not that. We have community gardens in town that are available to people. This is growing on a large scale. Everything that is on that, I think I measured it out, it's about 0.88 of an acre. Total usable land is for our business. It's not just to grow, just to have, right? And anybody that has just taken care of a small garden knows that that's a lot of work that goes along with it, right? To touch on our farming practices real quick, because that is a concern for us as well. We practice all regenerative farming. We don't till our property. We don't use any chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides.
The focus on with regenerative farming, if you're not familiar, it is soil focused. So it's all about soil health and land health overall, ecosystem health.
Insects,
Right.
flora, fauna, making sure that all that is in balance so that you don't have to supplement with nitrogen fertilizers, which is what we should be trying to get away from.
And being close to the river, it is exceptionally important,
Absolutely.
to have these practices. So
Absolutely. So then with that, we would like to propose a process to have town land that is approved by the town, say, hey, look, this is in the right spot. We're not using it. There's nothing being gained from it right now. We could put a process in place where local businesses, for whatever reason, it could be farming, it could be another purpose, can essentially bid on the property and use it for their business purposes. We did our own research. I know the city of Middletown has this process in place called an RFP process. They've had a lot of good success with it.
explain what that RFP means. I didn't know, so I
So basically, it's a process where what they do is they take somebody like myself, right? You can come to the town and say, hey, we want to use this farmland for farming, right? Or this piece of land for farming. And the town says, all right, no problem. They run it through their commissions, whether it's inland wetland, board of selectmen, conservation, town plan, or whatever they feel is necessary on the town side. As long as nobody has an issue with it, what they then do is they say, okay, we are going to notify the public, whether that's in a paper, Facebook, however, again, the town feels that information needs to get out to the public for, I believe they do it for 10 days. Anybody can put a bid on it. Whoever comes with the highest bid, they're the ones that get to use the land. And that's basically how they do it. They seem to be that's the fairest way for the general public not to feel that way. I'm not saying that town has to do it that way. That's just one way that we saw was the most fair for everybody.
And it's a process that's been working and been successful for
them over there.
what we've seen.
So I guess that's kind of where we're at. Oh, and as far as who can actually, do this, I guess anybody could, but there is the concern of liability. So we have a farm package insurance. We're not a rider off of our homeowner's insurance, right? We pay for an actual farm package. What we want to do with the land is grow our flowers and do a U-pick, right? We actually have a certificate on the farm package for a U-pick. Anybody that's not familiar with what a U-pick is the general public is able to come on the property. They pick their own flowers. They get charged either by weight or by filling up a mason jar. And that's how we plan to make money off of the land, right? On top of supplying our markets and anything else like that. You have to be a registered business, that's we pay sales and use tax, just like any other business that's brick and mortar. This is our brick and mortar, it's just no building that encloses it. And there's certain standards that have to be held that are set forth by the town and, you know, the lessee as well. You know, anything needs to be, the land needs to be kept up to certain standards. Certain things can happen, can't happen. Again, those are all on case basis, based on where the property is and what you want to do with it. So. Okay, thing that I missed?
I don't think so. I mean, let's get some questions
Yeah,
going.
so-
Do you actually test the soil to see if it's amenable?
So every year we, springtime, we'll send it out for a test, but that doesn't tell you as much. Really, the best time to test is in fall.
After things have been planted, the soil has been, used.
But we
For-
send it right to the state, right in South Windsor. It's a
Okay.
free test.
Mhm.
And they tell you, they actually lay it out. They do it in a quarterly session, but they'll tell you need this much nitrogen per 100 feet, this much phosphorus, this much potash, and how you deliver that is up to you. We choose to go with, we use Neptune's Harvest, which is an all natural fertilizer that comes from Maine.
Gloucester, I think, but it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
New England, yeah.
And they, that's how we choose to treat our soils. We also use microbes, which again is putting back the bacteria into the soil, the good bacteria into the soil.
It's all natural, it's
Um,
organic, all,
Anybody that, I know, Mike, me and you had discussed this, anybody that really understands what organic means, it's kind of it's a buzzword. We aren't organically certified, but the practices that we do are well above any organic type practice that you.
there are no
actually look at.
synthetics, no chemicals, nothing of that nature.
So, but yes, every week we test it, because that's the only way you really know what's going on.
Right, and it's-
You know, you can have a pretty good idea just by looking at your plant health, but
Yeah.
unless you actually get it tested, you don't know where you're at. And again, fall is the best because then you can prepare it for the next year.
Right.
Well, I know the town in close proximity to schools, we can't use any nitrate fertilizer. We have to use all organic fertilizer on town buildings and schools.
Yep.
I know you said, no brick and mortar, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about, but any other physical modifications you would be looking to make to the property, whether it's irrigation or any kind of
Well,
So-
stand
yeah.
or any kind of a.
Yep.
Irrigation obviously is the biggest part. Down at Nolan Field, I believe there's two options. I've talked with Jason to bring him the two options. There is a water main that runs up, I believe that's Grove Road, that's at the top of so it's Maple Ave is actually the road considered on Nolan Field, right? Even though it doesn't really have a sign. Airline Ave comes up this way. I believe it's Grove Road that comes down the backside where Chatham Court is.
Riverside.
Riverside, yeah, Riverside.
Grove is over.
Yeah, okay. There is a water main up there, but there is irrigation. An irrigation system
fields.
for the field down there. Now, Jason said he was gonna look in to see what that's being fed with. I don't know if it's a 1-inch line that comes in, if it's a 2-inch line.
2-inch line.
Okay, so I don't know how they calculate it. In my mind, you know, I would think that would be more than enough for what we need, to also support the irrigation at the field. But that's kind of, Jason had said maybe we'll just dig a pit for a meter. And, you know, our water gets metered out, afterwards. I'm kind of unclear on how he wants to approach that, but that would be really our only infrastructure that we would need.
Right.
Electricity, we don't have any need for it. If we did,
We'd use a
we would just
generator.
generator.
Mhm.
But
Cause we have a pit up by Airline Avenue, you know, where it comes in.
Yep.
So whether we extend our system and then put another pit meter and then just subtract what you guys use from what, you know, the town pays. you know.
again, however the town wants to work it, we're very open.
Yeah,
When
we
were
would be responsible for our water usage no matter
Yeah.
what. So, yeah.
Would you need to put any kind of fencing on any side of it?
So we don't want to. If there was, the only kind of fencing we'd be looking to put up would be like a 4-foot high cattle fence, like a, you know, like this tall with the wide
Yeah,
openings.
no stockade or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Like the picket snow fence?
So when you pick it, so it's like, it's called a cattle fence, so it's like the metal squares,
Yep.
open, you know, and 4 feet high, you know, that's.
It's more
if
to
we-
deter animals, if
Yeah,
You
anything,
have a
but
lot of deer down there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Which we have ways to take care of the deer without, you know, fencing, which I would much rather try before going to Actually, human hair is how you do it.
Dog hair.
Yeah, or
too.
dog hair.
Really?
Yeah, it seems to be the most effective way. So, but if we don't have to fence it, I would rather not. It's just another thing that we'd have to put in or take out at the end of the lease or something like
No,
that.
I mean, if we came across any like sort of vandalism or anything like that, I mean, we would probably pursue a route like that. But the point of this too is also so people can enjoy it. You know, it's not necessarily just for a profit situation. The public would be welcome to come out and enjoy the space, walk through the gardens. I mean, the amount of people that ask us just to walk through our yard because it's full of flowers, and we encourage it, but just don't hurt yourself. But
I remember me and Mike talked, we was like, how nice would it be to go grab a coffee and the ladies come down and sit in the middle of a flower field and read a book. Like, and that's why this started for us, and we want to be able to share that with town. It's
Right.
not just so people can come on and buy the flowers. It's obviously it's nice, but they wanted to go grab a sandwich, come down and sit on a bench and just sit in the field.
and we're not just saying that, like we truly feel that way.
Yeah.
So it's important to us to be able to share it.
very,
Mhm.
so
I purchased many of your flowers.
I know you
Thank
have,
you.
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
As have we.
Thank you.
And we
so much.
appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
So a little background too, after we spoke, again, I looked at some of the contracts that we have had in the past. No direct connection because they weren't flower ones that were growing trees, they were doing crops or whatever. But because there's cost involved in terms of having a water supply for this thing, looking at different lease options or whatever, and I'm assuming like an RFP process goes through, you guys are the successful bidders or whatnot. There's different ways to do that. Most contracts in the past have been year to year, sometimes they'll be a little bit longer. In a case like this, what seemed fair to me was, I would be comfortable with like a 3-year, for example, to cover the cost of any infrastructure build. And then after that, year by year, so that way the town always retains ownership. If you guys do something bad, something happens, we have to do a change. There's always an out for the town to reclaim the land, with certain penalties if necessary. But the town always retains ultimate ownership of that. But the use of it in a way that makes sense, that makes it workable for you or whoever is going to do something with there. I think there's a way to figure that. There's a way to get there, and make it make sense. I don't know what the cost of that was. That was when I did talk to Jason, he wasn't really sure what it would cost to do, and depending on how you ran the water there.
Yeah.
But you do need water there. I mean, flowers need a lot of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it didn't seem like it was insurmountable. It seemed like it was just a problem that we could solve pretty easily. So I'm liking the question so far. There's got to be a couple other ones.
I think, like he said, the best thing to do is ask for the RFP,
Yeah.
but it's limited to farming the land.
Right.
Nothing else, nothing to
Correct.
be built.
Right.
Because we did catch flack when we did the parking lot lease down by the marijuana plant, because it wasn't given out to the public. It was directly between us and the business. And other people said, what if I wanted to rent that parking lot?
Correct.
I wasn't given a chance to.
And I agree 100% because the last thing we want to do is be 6 months into this, get the water set up,
Mhm.
plant our stock, which is quite substantial on our end, and then all of a sudden somebody come in and threaten a lawsuit against the town for misuse of public land. And because it's not our land, you guys come say, hey, look, we have no choice, but you got to get your stuff out of
Yeah.
here. And that would, we can handle a couple people coming down and picking flowers. To have to get rid of our entire crop would be very.
I don't think you would have big competition for it,
No,
but having it done
It checks the
right
box.
and having a signed lease, it now gives you security of knowing we can invest this much and we know we're here for 3 years, 5 years,
Yeah,
whatever.
we're all
Well,
for that process.
take what happened at the beginning of this process. The last thing, it protects the farmer. We started by looking at a piece of land that we thought was perfect, and come to find out it, wasn't, it was being used by somebody else that was under another assumption. The last thing we want to do is hurt somebody else, and the last thing we want to do is get hurt. So I think that is a good way to keep everything above boards. There's
Makes
nobody
it fully transparent.
fully transparent. Nobody thinks that something is going on behind anybody's back. There's no backdoor handshake agreements. And if anybody has a question, look, it's all here. It's all public record. It was posted for 7-10 days, whatever the case may be. This is what they're paying, because that's also transparent. You're by all means can put a bid in. There's certain restrictions that you need to, or expectations that you need to have. Like I said, insurance, registered business, all these other things. And then that takes care of that side, the liability on your guys' side as far as offering public land to a private business for profit.
And I think having a formal process, having a defined process. Because right now we're talking about, flowers, a year ago, 2 years ago was, parking area.
Mm.
There may be other cases that come up that might not fit in a neat box, but having a defined process, how we address them, get public feedback, make sure there's sort of some equal opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
I know it's a
It's a good way
frustrating
to be
process,
open,
but
yeah.
this is good to get it out there.
Yeah, and does it
Yeah.
need to go before other commissions, like conservation, like
Exactly.
in
Park
wetlands,
planning,
like
zoning.
P and Z?
It shouldn't be
Doesn't-
with wetlands.
Huh?
It shouldn't be with wetlands.
Doesn't have to there, conservation.
Well, I'll
Is
just,
that wetlands possibly because it's adjacent to the wetlands?
I'll just.
But it's only within 100 feet of a verified wetlands.
No, but it's on their rate, like, does it ever get to them on their agenda that they are also involved in the
No.
process?
Yeah,
Conservation,
usually-
it would.
Usually, as long as you're outside of that,
Conservation would.
yeah, yeah. If you're
P&Z,
outside the
no.
wetlands buffer, you're
No.
okay, so.
I mean,
Building any.
I live around the corner from Michelle and Joe. We bought flowers from all the time. And I love what you're doing, but I'll be honest, I had some red flag concerns.
Sure.
In my younger years, I worked for the town in the summers and maintained that baseball field.
Mhm.
And I know that used to be a park over there.
Mhm.
You talk about, I hope things have changed because back in the day, we would chase kids away from burning down picnic tables in that park. So I hope, I hope that's not there anymore. But, my only concern, and Mike mentioned precedent and being a town park.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that this is done properly, and I'm glad you talked about the RFP process that Middletown has, because the first things I made my notes and I was going through this and I'm trying to find, I always weigh the pros and the cons and I look for, you're creating a scenario where somebody could come back and say, well, I'd like to park 25 trucks down there, So, and we don't have any defined regulation or protocol on how to go about this. And it sounds like the RFP is the way to go. One of the concerns I had was you got an active baseball field
Mhm.
that uses that parking lot. So I think one of the people that we need to speak with is Park and Rec. We have, planning and zoning, obviously, but the other concern I had is I think we should go to Chatham Court and talk to the housing authority and make sure that they're aware this is going in, because technically, and I talked to Mike about this weeks ago, and again, I'm always looking at all the scenarios. That housing project and the park and baseball field and everything below were originally built with federal money. It was a
Oh.
federal project.
Okay.
And I just wanted someone's eyes on that too, to make sure that it still isn't somehow under that umbrella.
Oh, sure.
I want to make sure you're clean. And then the other thing, I've been with my wife and daughter a couple times in Rhode Island to the tulip farm.
Oh, yeah, love.
And I know it's amazing, but I also know, in my mind, summer months are when you're active
Yeah.
and people find your place and you have a baseball game going on the field at the same time. And you may draw 25, 30, 35 cars, which will have almost fill that parking lot. And then the red flag for me, the liability factor, if people start parking on the street up above, and you start to get pedestrians walking on the street. There's all these things, and that's why I believe that this RFP that we're talking about, where you pass it by all the people that need to raise these concerns. And go through it, makes sense to me.
So my concern was that as well. I did reach out to Parks and Rec. I never got a response back. I did look back in the past minutes, and it's been mentioned a couple times where they have been, I guess, looking at the idea of what do we do with Nolan Field, because it sounds like they use the new complex more.
Well,
so.
Nolan Field was in the past, there was a very, very active adult softball league, which I think has kind of faded away. I know that in the past as well, the girls softball team was played in that field, but I think that has another location. But, again, those are the kind of questions I just want answered. It sounds like you
Yeah.
tried to go that angle
Well,
anyway.
because that's my thought is, okay,
Yeah.
like, let's say on a Saturday, because we're right now, we're thinking we would want to be open probably the weekend, mainly.
To start.
You know, to start, and then see where it goes from there. But let's say you have a Saturday game, you know, and we have 30 cars that are down there, and all of a sudden you have 60 cars that show up for
Oh,
the game.
that parking lot will fill up.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's not that
It's not that
big.
big.
So
Right.
the last thing we want to do is interfere with something that, teams that have scheduled and paid.
It would
use
probably,
that
if
field.
they do use that field, it would become a dance between you and them to make sure that,
Exactly.
you know.
Right.
And on the other side of that too, if the parks is saying, because again, I don't know how you guys' budget works, if that field somehow is on parks budget and they are looking for a way to subsidize that, we would also like to bring that to them as a way to say, hey, look, you guys aren't able to fill this field up and you're looking for a way to, you want to take it off of your balance sheet, however that works, we are looking to use that. So that's why I reached out, just to see what is being used with that field currently, because
The future for it.
the minutes seem that they have a less fee, that everything's either taking place at the high school or the new park
Yeah.
or other places, and is that actually being used for what it was years ago? Because I remember years ago, because of the lights and everything, there was always games down.
Oh,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore, at least from what I've seen,
Yeah, no.
so.
Everyone pulled a hammy.
Yeah. But as far as talking with other towns, they do go through what their, ranks to make sure of things like that, because you never know who might say, well, yeah, I mean, even the spare field that we're looking to use, who knows if somebody has a kickball league that they do down there that really nobody knows
And
about
that-
except for certain.
That really, that gets to my concern, and I thank you. I mean, there are a number of organizations in town that have responsibility for different aspects of what goes on.
Correct.
And I just think we need to touch base with all of them to make sure
Yeah.
that it works.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
Totally on board with that.
Because we're here to bring joy to the town, not create.
Yeah, we want to add something what we think is really beautiful and, that.
oh,
we
your
can-
yard in the
that-
summer is amazing.
Yeah, it brings us a lot of joy. I mean, and it makes, I don't know, it makes our neighborhood really beautiful.
Oh, we really don't need a lawnmower out there.
No, that's the only thing we don't grow is grass
Don't grow-
and.
I see Joe out there every night making the covers for the garden.
Yeah.
He never stays in the house.
No, he doesn't. When it gets warm out, he's.
Greenhouse is rocking and rolling up.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that everyone has a pretty positive feeling about this, if we can put the RFP into place and do the right processes? And
I think
check all
we've
the
got to
boxes?
talk about how we're gonna define the process.
Of
We can't
course.
just say we're gonna put an RFP out.
No, I understand.
We've got to talk about. how
But
the
we're
process
moving
is gonna look.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, yes.
And one of my concerns was, if we are starting to use town parks in this regard, we have to, the process, we have to be very defined. If it's agricultural purposes. But, like I said, if somebody says, well, I'm gonna put a bid in so I can store my 6 trucks there or something, that's a whole different matter. We have to be very specific.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, the RFP has to say it's for agricultural use only.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that.
It's all controllable.
This did come up actually, because I'm the liaison to Parks and Rec, so I was at the last Park and Rec meeting, and this did come up briefly, and that one of the things that they looked at was, because it's the differentiation, right? We have town-owned property and we have town-designated parks. The parks that Parks and Rec is responsible for, they've got the permits, and we just went through that evolution where we went through all the legal, right, how we rent those parks, the fees and all that. Would this drive any kind of a change to that for anything longer term on those properties to be consistent with how we're doing the short term? And then the other part is regular, town-owned parcels that are not in use, that are not officially parks, and how do we manage those? But
Yeah, because I know, again, when this was built many years ago, I believe the federal funding that they received for this, the park and the playground, which is now the field we're talking about, both of those were designed as recreational for the residents of Chatham Court. So, I'm even looking at the baseball fields not being used. My mind is thinking, well, do we still have to have a baseball field there or some recreational function there? Because that was its original intent when the property was acquired.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about.
But those
this
are the
now.
questions we
Yeah.
have to ask.
yeah, and I think part of this is when we're talking about, I think this is kind of like, cool use, and, it would be nice, but we've got to sit and hear and also think about all the other potential constructs to make sure we do it right.
Well, I think the RFP process is
Yeah.
important because it takes you through those different avenues to make sure that you're not missing something that, when me and Mike talked about, everyone was like, yeah, this is really great, and it is great, but also want to make sure that we're not missing something either, because we can't pack up and leave. That's not the way our business works.
No, once it's in the ground, it's in the ground.
It's in the ground.
No,
Yeah.
and I think overall too, I mean, and we've talked about this, like Portland as a right to farm town, you know, a lot of people don't understand what that means. And it, you know, there was a highlight for it because, you know, because backyard chickens and things like that, but it's like, is that where that stops? You know, obviously right to farm, you know, we have existing farms in town, that generational farms are on larger pieces of land, family owned for many years. And, you know, there's more branches to that, I think. And I think this is one of them. So
I think a process like this
Right.
makes us a true step in the right to farm
it
community.
does add another facet to it that I think is important. So,
We have to make sure we have the right parameters.
yeah,
Right.
totally agree with you on that.
And by all means, you know, it definitely, because from my experience going to other towns, everybody that I've talked to was very helpful, you know, and I'm sure you guys know that you guys have relationships with each other, but I was surprised with how forthcoming and forthright everybody was. Just some guy walking into an office, you know, in the middle of the day saying, hey, and people are, oh, I got this and this, and handing me documents and, you know, land lease agreements and everything. And it's like, you know, it was just, for me, I know how to grow flowers. I don't know that end of it.
Information overload.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, by all means, reach out to other towns, because I'm sure they can, you know, they've already gone through the struggles.
Be
So,
good
you know,
resources.
and if there's anything that we can do on our end, we'd be more than willing to help.
This has
So,
been very helpful tonight. I'm
Yeah,
glad you came
thank you,
with some
guys.
Yeah,
solutions and all that.
thank you.
yeah.
This is,
So, any other questions?
Good.
Now keep on doing it.
Thank
all right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
We are.
No, it's
Yeah.
your-
So we are.
We're gonna begin the
The
work on a
town's gonna begin the
defined,
process of creating
Right.
a system to do this. That is broader than just this particular project and will encompass other things, so. You guys are the ones that kicked this up. Guys, good to see you.
good night.
Love what you guys are doing. 100%.
Yes.
I'm assuming this whole Connecticut right to farm ordinance that we've adopted means something to you guys?
Yeah, have you heard that before?
Yeah, it's in the, you know, letter that I'm reading right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we should find out what it is. Said you guys chose to adopt Connecticut right to farm ordinance.
Look it up.
Well, we gotta look it up, right?
It was to protect mostly well, no, it's mostly to do with existing farms.
Yeah.
So, you know, if there's a cow farm or horse farm or whatever, and somebody builds a new house next to it and they complain about the smell,
Oh.
they were
okay.
here first, you don't have a right to
You don't have a
complain
right to
about
complain
it
about it, yeah.
and so on.
Yes. All right, I'm officially past my 8:45 estimate time.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am, but it's been productive though, and I thought this was really, really helpful tonight.
Well, the agreement
thinking-
was you're buying dinner afterwards if you're late.
I'm gonna go pour real quick on it. All right, we need to readopt the affirmative action policy. I would suggest we waive the reading. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, second it.
I'll second it.
All right, we are adopting this statement and we are.
Dave made the motion.
Dave, John second.
Well, whoever had it, I'll take it.
John's gonna take that. All right, very nice. All right, refunds of excess payments.
I make a motion for a refund of excess payment for VW Credit Leasing LTD, $608.30.
Did we actually, did I miss the vote on the, I know, I heard the motion in the second. Did we
No,
actually
we
vote
didn't
on it?
vote.
We didn't vote.
We did not vote on that?
No,
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And I remake my motion for.
And I'll second you.
All right. All those in favor?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion
And
passes.
this again.
All right, number 8, old business. A, appointments and reappointments. Do we have any?
I have none.
I had none.
Very good. Next, updates on projects. Very quick, when we talked about the school renovation project tonight. Any initial feelings about that? Anyone? want to
No,
make any
move on.
comments? I'm giving it a chance. Nope. Nordic Spa, nothing new since last week. Brainerd Place, nothing new since last week. River Access Project. They made it to the river. If you drive past in Middletown, you can see where the road is, where the parking lot is. It's fantastic. They're still targeting May for that, doing a ribbon cutting. So that looks good. They have to wait a couple weeks for the ground to get a little bit warmer.
Where can you see it in Middletown, like from
If
Harvard
you're
Park?
driving on Route 9, you
Harvard
look
Park,
over, you
you
can
can see
actually
it.
see the parking lot as you're going up the bridge, kind of the repair bridge.
Okay.
Anywhere from Middletown, we can actually see where it is though, yeah.
Right, Harvard Park.
Yes.
Looking across.
Yes. Airline Trail, nothing new. We're waiting for Eversource to officially approve it. It is gone internal with them, environmental versus other divisions within there. So we're waiting on that. POCD, that is active. You'll have a main update next Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm bringing Dan down here to talk about that. Water and town well.
I want to speak.
Yes.
I want to thank you for what you sent to us, which is the timeline document that I guess the state put together.
Yes.
But I still think it would be helpful if we get at some point get this reduced to just a timeline.
Yes.
And I tried to kind of do it myself at home, but I've lost the knack. The document has in the the leftmost margin are all the bullet points that are the big ticket items, and then there's subcategories. All I would suggest is month by month, big ticket items, and then deliverable dates, because I noticed on some of them it's 60 days, some of them it's 90 days. I looked at the update that we received from Water and Sewer, and it, based upon what was reported, it looks like the RFP went out, the RFPs are back,
Yes.
and the reviews are underway.
Yes.
And if that's the case,
Homework's
then
being done.
there you go.
Yeah.
The,
Right.
for February, the month of February, it ends with negotiate final contract RFP selected. So, it seemed to me that we're on target.
Mhm.
But, the one thing that kind of jumped out at me is when we got to July 1st of 27, that's where, after all's said and done, and we go back and forth with DPH and the AG approval and all that stuff, we begin construction. And the thing that I noticed was down below, they said that could take as much as a year. So again, we talked originally about kind of backing into this thing and making sure that we keep the timeline moving. So, I mean, it reiterated for me, I really think this group would like to see an easy, high-level bulleted timeline of deliverables.
I was gonna say, this is, like Microsoft Project.
Yeah.
Right.
A simple timeline that shows the deliverables, it tells you, and it shows you the dependencies. Really easy for us to follow, really easy for us to check off,
Absolutely.
and really easy to keep track so we can put pressure when we need to be putting pressure.
Exactly.
Agreed.
And quite honestly, to keep pressure, because from now on out, when you look at the timeline, we need to, there's really not gonna be a time when we don't need to be putting
Well,
pressure.
it's not just for this project, also for the other projects we have.
Yeah.
So that is being worked on. So yes, we will.
But
have
yeah,
that.
So we're gonna see Jason here in 2 weeks,
We'll see Jason here in 2 weeks. Yes.
and he's gonna have what we just talked about.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Good. Check both boxes. Great. Potential upgrades to WPC. I don't have any updates for you right now. So we'll go into the next one. Status and committee reports. I'll start from my left.
All right, all right, start Parks and Rec. Their resident came in and, basically brought to the idea that they're looking to, proposing to do something to create shade at the rec complex.
Yes.
That was a component. Some of the shade trees and things like that were things that were taken out, just because of the cost when it was originally deployed. The initial proposal kind of was right in the same area where we had actually put a flat area and ran a conduit for a future rec barn, storage area, maintenance shed, that type of thing. So they were looking at potential other areas where it might make sense to do that. I think that's a conversation we're gonna see in terms of whether it's trees. And they even talked about things that were potentially posts that use like the netting with the awnings so to let water pass through. But they do provide some shade, so there'll be more to talk about that. They did note that the Hall of Fame is accepting nominations, website and paper until July 15th. And they did raise a question, and this had to do with, I think, some illnesses and such, but they lamented the fact that they had 3 programs as of this meeting over the over a few weeks, 3 programs over a last 2-week period prior that they had to cancel because they lost custodian coverage. So it's something that they were battling a little bit. It was just an interesting commentary that it's good to know if public is wondering why some of the programs got canceled, they lost some of the necessary coverage when that was happening. The water and sewer meeting. Had a water, I won't get into any names, but basically had a customer come in and requested the Water and Sewer Commission review. They had a bill that basically quadrupled, multi-tenant, and they did determine, I think, that 3 of the 4 toilets were running as a drive for that. They were trying to figure out if there was a way to assist, whether that's a payment plan or to do something with the interest. They did officially, I saw some feedback, they did confirm that because the interest is statutory in nature, but they're gonna work on trying to have them on a payment plan because it was a significant jump. Talking about a jump in the thousands from the normal bill. And but it passed through the meter and all that, so there was also a question about discounts off of the sewer bill for filling a pool. They referred back to a March 2020 change that the sewer billing going forward was going to be based on the actual meter readings for water. That was a problem we ran into because we were having these discrepancies with how do you estimate, because everything was kind of a guesstimate on how much water when it runs through the meter is going in the lawn when somebody's watering a lawn versus. So that was just kind of taken out of the equation. And I think at that point, there was a discussion about potentially creating a program where if somebody wants to put a second meter in water only for their irrigation, they certainly, we would certainly entertain that. I don't know if it was ever formally put together as a program. I do know that there was at least one pilot that was implemented as part of that discussion.
The only dual meter system that we have in town for that is Dunkin' Donuts has a second meter just for their coffee.
There was actually one more. There was actually one more that was a pilot at a private residence when it came up.
Oh, okay.
There is,
Yeah, you're right.
there is
you're right,
one
you're
more.
right.
Yep.
I don't get a second meter.
Basically, right now, if you're
Well,
on,
they
if
make
you're
the
on water and sewer,
Yeah.
your meter, right, you have a water and sewer account. The water that runs through your meter, that's what your sewer bill is based on.
Yeah.
There are some folks that irrigate their lawn, or some folks that have said, we're gonna measure how much water they put in the pool, and they would get a discount off their sewer bill because that water
didn't
didn't
go into the
actually
sewer
go into the sewer system. But that's become very difficult, so it's just, I bring it up because it's an issue that may end up coming to our desk as a board at
Yeah.
some point.
I don't.
Okay,
I think that opens a can of worms.
so. And let's see.
I can understand it for the business, like you said, for Dunkin' Donuts or like Starbucks. Cause the majority of their water is leaving in people's hands in cups. It's not going into the sewer system.
Yeah.
For residents, I think it'll be a nightmare.
I'm not gonna
Well,
disagree.
the second meter.
That's, yeah. Like I said, I know there was one pilot that was put in and I know the way it was
Tap
piped,
into it.
but I don't disagree.
Yeah, it's possible,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, there was some strict, but I don't think it was ever officially implemented. I think it was, it just, it was attempted. There's another case again, that's kind of an oddball. It's part of the public record, so I mean, I will just say it was kind of an oddball again with Quarry Ridge, kind of a similar type of a thing where they pump water
Out of
into
quarry.
they basically have the quarries, which they use for irrigation, but the quarries were running low, so they pumped water into the quarries so they could then use it for irrigation. And they were talking with the Water and Sewer Commission about that as well.
So they use the water.
So they use the water, which is kind of what it goes to.
Wouldn't.
Yes.
A difference
How's that
of
our problem?
Just again, because these are things that these folks may,
There was more
they may
expected.
come to see us, so I'm sharing with you.
Right.
Other than that, there was a couple of, they did have a couple of water main breaks, Rogers and Strong, Rogers Ave, Strong Ave.
There's 2 on Rogers, correct?
Yeah, well, as of this meeting, they just said that there was one on Rogers, one on Strong. There may have been another one since then. And then just the stuff we've already talked about, in terms of we expected the reports back by 210, which we got. So I got.
Guys, one question. While we're on water and sewer, like we already have our next plan this summer for High Street. Do we have our next project in the works of what we're gonna ask for a grant and what neighborhood we're gonna work on? Does Jason have our next plan?
Or finishing up High Street?
No, for like, what's after High Street? What's our next project?
We have not talked about that, but we've been so focused on the current project.
All right,
So,
well, I think we should look at it so we
Right.
can apply for the grant and get that in the
absolutely.
works.
Absolutely.
Well, I know, Proud Acres, you're eliminating some of that, asbestos cement down there.
That's what I was thinking.
Because
So
we always have
Extension, Brazos, Middlesex Avenue extension, all that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's move it from the back burner to the front burner and look at our next project.
I don't have a Board of Ed update. Last week's meeting was postponed due to the slippery roads. And their follow-up meeting was happening tonight while we were here. So I won't have a report there. Tomorrow night I have library board, so I'll have that next time.
Yeah, same economic development was canceled last Tuesday for the weather, so I don't.
Gotcha.
And planning and zoning is March.
Yeah, again, planning and zoning, it was moved and the housing authority meeting was yesterday and I missed it. Yep, I'm away.
I'm all set.
Austin, okay. Me as well. Any public comment? Anyone online?
You getting up there, Kim?
Come on. Ken.
All right.
on, Kim.
Come on. You put in 2 hours into this tonight.
That's right.
Well, after the beginning of the meeting, I'm gonna pivot a little bit from my original intention, because my original intention tonight was just to bring up Butler Lane for the last time. I think I'm just throwing it, I was just going to say, I've told you guys enough that I think it's a safety concern, and I just, there's no sense talking about it anymore, just wait for the inevitable to happen. But one of the things that one of the other women said tonight kind of struck me when she said that seems like it's a NASCAR training ground out here, which it does. As I said to you, coming up High Street, I get pushed into Butler Lane because nobody wants to follow. You do it too. But if 66 is NASCAR training ground, then Butler Lane is the old East Haddam drag strip. It's the only way I can put it. And as much as I know that Butler Lane is a dead end road, it's a public road. And then you're abutting the high school, and that's school property, and maybe we're just trying to keep school and town separate. You're still messing with safety for anybody, whether it's adults or kids or anybody using that intersection. So I probably am not going to bring it up to you anymore, but I still think it's something that when you're talking about all these safety initiatives tonight, you've got a big problem right there. We know traffic in this town moves way too fast anywhere. Nobody pays attention to the lights at 66 and 17, which everybody brought up. We'd sit some Sunday mornings and have our bagel and donut at Dunkin' Donuts and watch the traffic. Nobody cares. And I don't know if they think their order's ready or what it is, but they don't care. They don't stop. And that's a major, that's a huge intersection. And I'm old. I worked at Dairy Queen, the old one,
Don't
50 years ago. I used to ride my bike out there once in a while, which I wouldn't advise anybody to do. But there was not even a traffic light there at that time. And you didn't have the volume of problems that you have there now. So I know there's problems all over town. I still think that intersection, Butler Lane and High Street, is a biggie. And the speed is a problem, and it's gonna come back in your lap one of these days. So it's probably the last time I'm gonna say anything about it, but I think speed and safety is a big.
Can I ask you what
Big
we
no.
thought about the presentation as a resident in town?
Very good. Yeah. And I don't know where the right place is for it. Because I don't care where you are. Like he said, Main Street, Main Street's, that's another one. It is a raceway, but
Okay.
you know, going out 66. And when you're getting to the end of the 4-lane highway and everybody they don't want to be behind you when you're going 50 miles an hour, so they want to back you off the road to go 60. There's the speed all over town.
When I was at DOT headquarters for a meeting, they pulled up in real time a speed data on each road because they track the phones. They don't have the data who it is, but they know how fast the phones are going in the cars.
Mhm.
They can tell exactly how fast in real time all the roads are in High Street.
High Street's awful.
Main Street, when you get past Little Bears on 66, they can't even get out of the park. They can't even
Right.
pull out of there.
You know, what's funny about High Street is a few years ago, there was a big to-do about the speed on High Street. Everybody was complaining and they put the speed sign out there, you know, and everything else. Most of the people that I find speeding, you know, whether I follow them and I see them take off or whether, like I said, they're behind me and they're just shoving up the road. They get halfway up the road and they're going up First Street, you know, First Street, Fairview Street. They're all local. They all complained about it and they're all doing it. And that's just, you know, Spring Street, they're all pushing up the road and then they're just taking off to go down their little side street.
Yeah.
So
Everyone's in a rush.
everybody's in a rush. Cars are too comfortable. They go fast too easily. And, you know, kids, you're putting a big power machine in a kid's hands now. You're not the cars that we learned on, you know, old clunker, the old clunkers that couldn't have gotten out of their own way. So you know.
So I remember last year, the number of cars that were driving on your road increased as the kids got a little older. Some of them got their license during the
There's
school year.
51 to 54 cars there on any given day in the student parking lot.
Right.
And I'll go back to what I've said to you many times. The bulk of well, number one, there's a lot of traffic now that it's open all day. I don't know what the rules are. These kids are in and out all day long. If that's allowed, that's allowed. I don't care. But a lot of these people coming out of that school are the teachers that don't want to deal with the speed bumps in the parking lot. So they're avoiding the safety things that you put in place for their safety and the kids' safety
To get out of there.
to get out of there fast.
Can I ask a question, Mike? I thought the agreement was that it was open an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. That it wasn't supposed to be just open it in the morning and then shut it at, 4 o'clock or whatever the time is.
So in talking to Bob Shea, in terms of how he's viewing the safety there, he has it open from morning until the end of the school day, unless
Yeah.
there's an event.
Yeah.
Because of the traffic, he said he still sees traffic during the daytime. That was his assessment. Now, I will meet with him again.
Yeah.
And see if we can reduce that down, but that was his safety assessment.
Because it was supposed to be open it for the kids to go in and then open it for the kids to go out, and that was it.
Right, but he
If
said
that-
because of conditions there, like in real time, he said that he recommended strongly that it be open from the morning till the end of the school day.
How much
because
traffic is coming out of there during the day?
In his opinion, being there, he said that it was sufficient for him to do that. Now, I'll revisit with him, but
They can't drive out the main entrance?
I'm thinking even the main.
Where there's stop sign?
The only way you're gonna figure out if it truly is a problem is to go back to the original agreement. Open the gate in the morning, close it during the day, and see how many kids are actually, what kind of traffic jams are occurring.
Well, to me too, it's a way to get on and off the property without being noticed.
Yes.
Yes.
If you have to
Yeah.
go in the main entrance, you're driving past the offices
Yeah.
and the entrance to both schools to go past the water tower to get to High Street. And when you return, you're coming back the same way.
Right.
So if they're going on Butler, they can leave without being noticed, or somebody who's not supposed to be there
Somebody who's not.
can get on the
them.
campus without being noticed.
We
So-
see that.
And I
we
agree
see
with
cars
Ken.
that
It's
we
more of
don't
a safety
see
thing.
The speed bumps are there for a reason, and they're bypassing the speed.
To be
bumps.
bypassing, yeah,
Right.
but there's traffic in and
that's the
out.
point that's where I was gonna go.
Nigel leaving.
You know-
That's exactly where I was gonna go, is that part of it is the security of the campus.
Security, which I brought up to
Which
you the
if
very
you
first time.
create a back door that people can come in that's not monitored
Exactly.
and doesn't have any real eyes on it, that's not a good situation.
Nobody sees that
Nobody,
gate from the school,
No.
unless the teacher's looking out a classroom window. But the other way, you're driving right in front of both schools for people to see you leaving and coming back.
Yeah. And by the way, right by all the windows and everything else, so, yep.
yeah.
Now-
I
So if
brought
it's a
this,
safety thing, that gate should be secured.
I had said that to you at my very first, that I was very concerned about who was accessing the property during school hours that doesn't belong on there because there's no monitoring of
Yeah.
that at all. And like I said, I have utmost respect for Bob Shea. I have no problem with him. I think there's a little missing link of history, and as far as you know, I'm not talking to that other guy at the high school ever again who threatened me, so.
No, I
But,
understand.
there's history and then there's history. I mean, they're looking at a little bit of data, a couple years, and I can tell you what's been going on there since 1979. I've seen accidents at High Street and Butler Lane. I saw a kid get hit years ago when my neighbors used to have hedges out there, and kid walking home from school, another kid fooling around
Very
and
bad
it
turn.
hits him and throws him up in the bushes, and stuff happens. They're kids. And fortunately, none of them were egregious. I mean, nobody's got lifelong injuries from it, but I don't ever want to see that happen either when it's avoidable.
So why don't we do this then? Okay, because I hear what everyone's saying on this one. Why don't we, for the month of March, let's close it, only open up in the morning and afternoon. And let's see what the traffic pattern is. And let's see. I trust, I have utmost respect for Bob as well. I don't believe he's saying that to just allow traffic to
No.
go anywhere. I think he's doing it for reasons that he truly believes, but he may not be looking at it as we're looking at it, as maybe some kids are skating on
Yeah.
it, and maybe they are abusing it.
Well, it's not just the kids, it's
No,
the worry of somebody going there that's not supposed
No,
to.
I
be there.
understand it. It's
Yeah.
complex. No, absolutely. So I understand that. So I will instruct him that for March, let's see what it does. Let's review it after the 30 days, but for the month of March, I'll make sure that it's all open for that hour or two, an hour in the morning,
Yep.
hour at the end of the day, and then it's closed for those, except for if there's an event at night, a
Well,
significant event, as we have in the past. That's reasonable, but I think that we could review it.
You know,
100%.
these kids are
Because I
missing
think
out
it's
on some of the
reasonable.
big, but, and
Yeah, I
to
know you want to say.
Bobby's point, I've seen people now, and I don't have a problem with it because I wouldn't do anything wrong on a school property, but there's people walking the track in the middle of the day now because they can get there. And technically, though they're not doing anything wrong, they're just walking, they're really
But they're
not
not supposed
supposed
They're not
to be.
supposed to be there.
You're not supposed to be on school property.
And I
So-
agree with that.
So there, I mean, really, there is the vehicular issue. But now we're bringing up a whole other issue, which is campus security.
Yeah.
That's something I don't think anybody's considered.
Well, I put a video switch in the head end room at the high school. We were gonna put video cameras up on the pole by the water tanks, because if you look up there, there's still a roll of fiber up there. That when I ran fiber up from the town hall up there, they put a fiber run which runs back into the thing. They wanted to put license plate readers.
Mhm.
Okay, on that pole, and that fiber's just been sitting there rolled up, so nothing's happened.
I think the only question we gotta ask is there a concern? Cause I think from a security standpoint, we need to secure that. But then is Bob's coming from the public safety sphere? The way he is, does he have a concern that if there was some sort of an emergency out there? That the length of time it would take, the amount of time it would take to open up that gate in an emergency for an evacuation, is that an issue? Versus is it just, I think we need to make sure we understand that.
No,
But, cause I think we need to tighten up I think it's good to tighten up the security on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But we may need to look at something like, when you go up towards, I'm trying to remember when you go up into, what's the road that ties into,
Oh,
Dairy Road,
You
like.
mean the
Yep,
gate
yeah,
that's
yeah,
never
the gate.
closed?
yeah.
Yeah.
The neighbors
They-
complain about that, cause that's always open now too.
Yeah, I'm
They
saying
used to
that,
have-
but I
And
didn't know
that
if
was
there's,
supposed to be for emergency only.
They had a key
right, if
card
there
for
was an
that.
emergency, you've got a
Yeah.
way to get out, but.
Yeah.
You know,
So, okay.
absolutely. You know,
Alright.
and I have no problem in an emergency. Last year we weren't home, but
The
the fire
exception
department was there.
becomes the
the
rule,
whole day.
right?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And I said, Sean, why didn't you guys fire department just go in my house and wait there instead of all waiting out in the road, but I have no problem with that, but the day to day, and like I said to you, I have the pictures. I stand there's no traffic at the regular entrance anymore and it's safe. It's a three-way stop sign.
Mhm.
There's nobody coming, the sight lines are better and there's nobody using it.
Right.
Just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right. I appreciate it, Kim.
Yeah, I have to go with the closing it
Yeah.
for the month.
And let's see, that'll be good. All right, informal discussion. Anything anyone wants to talk about?
No, just-
Oh, good.
no, just one thing so that I'm clear, because we skipped quickly over. So Board of Education tonight is going to vote. Was that your understanding on that?
Yes.
So
the-
then, for us, what does that, when is that coming back?
So once we as a board vote.
Right, if so-
Assuming that.
That they're
all of
voting
us-
this evening.
Well, right, but in order for. We have to vote on whether we want to put it to referendum. Once we do that, then a silent period starts. That's not gonna be until early April probably, because I think the May 11th is.
But
I
it's
get
coming
that.
back to us, she's asking.
No, I
Yeah.
understand.
I get that.
Right. But yeah, it's ultimately be us that decides this.
When, so
Yeah,
now it's
we-
gonna
I
wait
mean,
2 more
You said
weeks
Friday
again?
or Monday, you'll have all the other.
Right, so
information.
now, are you saying that at our it will not be until our next meeting,
It'll,
which is March?
yeah, I would like to have we're welcome to discuss it. I haven't been shy about this. I think it's a good project. I want to see the numbers though, so I have a better idea of
Well, we
exactly
have
how
to
it's
see
gonna
the
be.
numbers.
We have to see that number, but if the numbers come in and the town can afford it, I think we have a great opportunity in terms of, additional business in town, additional tax revenue, the needs of the school, the reimbursement. There's a lot of things that give it something that makes sense. But once we get those numbers, then now it may be important enough that maybe we need to have an emergency meeting of the BOS, and maybe we need to pull something sooner because time is of the essence. It's only 80 something.
Well, that would be
Time.
next Wednesday.
Right.
That's the only Wednesday between
Right,
that and our next meeting.
Right, so.
Right. I mean.
Well, I
if-
mean, oh, God.
I'm sorry, if you've got the information coming between Friday and Monday.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been saying this for months. The time is running out.
Absolutely.
The
We,
timeline.
we need to have at least 2 or 3 public forums. And then you got that silent period. And I want to make sure that the public forums happen while we can still tell people how we feel.
Absolutely.
That's what happened last time. So if we need to have a special meeting
I-
after you get that
The
information, we need
silent
to have a
period
special
starts in
meeting.
2 months,
Right,
2 months from
Right.
now.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
The silent is, when exactly does that?
So
start?
It's 30 days before the referendum.
Right,
Okay, So 30 days before.
So April
Yeah.
15th.
so,
The referendum is on the date
Right.
of the budget.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's determined that either.
right,
We're saying that's what everyone's marching to.
Right.
I'm just trying to understand all the next steps because I feel like the timeline is very.
This is
Oh,
stuff.
you
that
got it.
We should have done this before the new year.
Exactly.
We are so far behind, it's
Because-
ridiculous.
We have all this present and things, and there's gonna be really good information, but again, the
We should have set
information has
aside,
to
I
be
mean,
out there.
we should have reserved the auditorium
But they didn't.
2 months
have-
ago.
But they didn't
No,
have the numbers.
But even, it doesn't.
Actually, we can
you
reserve
always
the
cancel a
auditorium now.
reservation.
We don't have to wait. We should reserve we should set
Exactly.
those up now because we know we're gonna have
And
the
start telling the
information.
public.
So we can get them publicized, get them scheduled and publicized.
Yes.
We don't have to wait. We don't have to keep doing these things in series. These can be done in parallel. And
This board, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a presumption that the Board of Ed voted on it tonight.
Yeah.
But this board has not voted. So we don't know what this board is voting. So until this board vote, it's not really moving.
Well, I think there's this is where I differentiate. I think that our next vote is really to say, okay, yes, as a board, we are comfortable and want to move forward
Mhm.
with the plan that was presented.
right.
But we're not yet voting to send it to referendum because that starts the quiet period.
But we could still be voting no, we don't know that we're.
But I think either way, there is zero harm in getting the sessions plan put
Yeah, I agree.
4 weeks out to get.
Right.
No, that's us too.
That's us.
We need to
No,
push it. Because we need to reserve the
That's it.
facilities. We need to push them. If we're gonna do them in the schools, we need to push them to get them done in the schools.
Mhm.
But we should actually get that schedule established and publicized as soon as possible. Because we're also gonna be threading the needle. All the time we're gonna be trying to do this education. We're gonna be doing it during March, which is budget season.
Mhm,
So we're gonna have all these other budget hearings and everything else.
mhm.
So there's gonna be a lot going on our plates from a budget standpoint from a town. And that people got to absorb if they're gonna vote on that, as well as what they're gonna have to
Well,
absorb
and
from the
here's the
schools.
harsh reality, guys. The first building committee chose a 2-school option. That was never eliminated as a in favor or not, because that got pushed away.
Right.
For the questionnaire which put a one budget option up there. The public has yet to really eliminate a variable. So the way I see it, whether we like it or not, this is going to a vote. Because we have to, people have to say whether they're in favor of it or they're not.
John, you were on the board with me last time, and I said, I didn't like the plan, but it needs to go to the people.
Exactly.
And they need to go to the polls and vote.
How else
give
do
their
we know what will eliminate that as a variable?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. And so we don't.
I don't think
wait.
anyone here is gonna say, no, it shouldn't go to referendum.
No,
All of us will agree it goes to referendum and let the people speak and decide whether they think it's affordable or not.
So we should
And
be
That's
establishing
what's gonna be
dates.
said.
We should be establishing dates right now.
Yep.
I mean, I think Mike, you and Charles need to sit down and say, okay, we gotta book the dates.
and by the way, I think we should look at,
We've already spoken about dates in the whole bit, so that's being worked on right now.
and let me ask you a question, when we do the dates, can we make sure that we provide a little bit of variation, right? So we'll have obviously some dates during the week in the evenings, but do we also have the option, for example, potentially of a Saturday morning or something?
I was
for
gonna
people
say,
that
you
work
want
at
something
night,
during
yeah,
the day
yeah.
for senior citizens.
Yeah, something during the day.
Weekends for people that, work
Exactly.
second shift or whatever.
Right.
You need it all over the place.
Yeah, it's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Perfect.
Taxpayer, I wanna know what it's gonna do to my taxes and.
That's what we don't know yet.
That's.
Coming down the pike, like the sewer plant, it's gonna impact my taxes as well, because we all know that there's gonna be more than just the schools that's gonna raise my taxes.
Water and sewer is funded through water and sewer bills. So if it's somebody that lives out in the country that's on septic and well,
Okay.
it won't affect them. Yeah,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Well, that was part of the presentation, that we're not funding everything at the secondary schools. We're still $10 million short on the repairs needed, according to his presentation. In 5 years, we'll tell you.
Right.
But that's why we're waiting for the number, why we can't present anything until
Right.
there's the numbers that
Right.
we don't have that are coming. Right.
People on fixed income now.
Yes, of course.
And they can't keep raising their taxes, you're gonna be pushing them out of their home.
We gotta know what the number is. So once we get those numbers, once we know what the bonding is.
We have the cost of the project now. We don't have the cost to pay the project back
Correct.
to the taxpayer.
Well,
And that's-
when's
That's what we're waiting on.
when's the next, the big bond, that's gonna be rolling off in the.
So we've got $8 million.
It's already off.
Bonded money right now. This, the.
August was the last payment for the school.
Okay,
So this year, we don't have a bond payment for a school.
okay,
That's why our capital should be a much larger payment.
yeah,
Because we could use that money to pay for stuff that's drastically needed,
yeah,
and it wouldn't affect the tax base.
right.
Right.
And I think it's a somewhat complicated thing as well, which is what David Eisenfeld from bonding. Because it's not only just the cost of the project and how we do that, because there's a dozen different ways you can bond money and how much you have to float until you get reimbursed by the state. It's much more complicated than it should be, I think. But then you have to layer that against the estimated savings, what's going on, the additional, a growth in a land list that has an impact. The number of cars coming in, we've already had 300 something extra cars over like from this year to last year because of Brainerd and maybe other things. So all those things he's got to plug in. And that's what makes it complicated. So
I
the
would
net
s-
effect for her might be what, a mill and a half, $2, whatever the number is. But figuring that out, that's why it's taken them. And deciding how we do that because of the sequence of the school. So it's just, it's.
I would load the calendar, because otherwise, you know what's gonna happen? It's like, just exactly what's happening, right? We're just waiting for someone else.
Right.
Wait, load the calendar, these are the dates.
The calendar will
It's a-
push it.
It's a forcing function to get the damn things done.
If you have to cancel a date because you don't have the information yet,
Right.
you can't
That's
cancel
the thing,
it, but
right?
we should have a schedule out already.
I mean, this,
Exactly.
if you just
I
let
mean,
it go, it's just gonna go.
You have to look at the visual. Taxpayers, residents think, here we go again. They got a plan. We haven't heard a damn thing about it. We know, I mean, we've given information. Last meeting, I told everybody to watch the Board of Ed presentation, just because it would give them an opportunity to see what we're talking about. But time is running out. These meetings need to be scheduled.
With the last school plan for the mega school, what did they have? 6 to 8 months
Yeah, we
to
never got
pitch it and
anything. Right.
sell it to the residents. And you still had people showing up that day saying, what is this? I have no
Right.
idea what it is.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it in 2 months or less. And we expect to have good things happen out of it.
Yeah, well, and the challenge, part of the challenge is, I believe on that one, that had to be sent to referendum on like June 28th. Because we had to have the application in, so it had to be officially voted for referendum. So then we had the silent period from
For
June
2 months.
28th
Right.
until the election in November,
Because you wanted it.
So we
they
lost-
Wanted it on presidential, yeah.
which made sense.
Yeah,
But in this case, we've got, getting them scheduled now, we'll, we can have active conversations with Portland residents, answer their questions, address concerns.
We all know what the biggest question is.
Right,
What is it?
Well,
what
that's
is
the
it?
same thought, right?
exactly.
It's not the cost of the project. It's what is this gonna do to
What's it
my
gonna do to
taxes
my
for the
taxes?
next 20 years?
yes.
Right. Well,
And we don't know that yet.
And here's another option too that's floated. So budget time, we have no idea, what the number's gonna land on. Hopefully it's gonna be a good enough number that everyone votes for it. But if people don't like the budget, they're more likely to vote no on any
That's right.
referendum, which means that we've already placeholded, I think that May 24th or whatever, 2 weeks after, as a possible date for a referendum, if we had to do it separately. But if we do it separately after a budget vote on its own, you need 20% of the town to come out and vote. So you're rolling the dice on that. If you don't have it, it doesn't pass no matter what. So.
Well, if
but
you
that's-
educate,
It's a big number.
if you put the information
That's,
out.
that's why
people
it
look-
really needs to be done with the
Right,
budget.
if it could be done in the budget, unless it's such a groundswell of people that are getting all the yes votes out, right?
20% of registered voters.
Registered voters,
So
yeah.
it's like
So it's like
1,500.
1,500, yeah.
In municipal,
Oh, it can only
In our-
turn down twice, and then we can set the,
in a regular budget, what's the percentage we get? It's very low. It's
30?
not
We get-
20.
Well, we got
To
41%.
vote on the budget,
Oh, yeah,
just the
to vote on
budget
the
vote, it's
budget.
low. Like
I thought it
really,
was 30.
I don't know.
It's our
you think
average.
it's that high? I think it's really low.
Presidentials were
follow
80 to
this.
90.
No, I know, but when it's just the budget alone in May,
I
I
think
swear, it's like.
I think we're like
only
28,
100 people
30%.
Come out. It's like not even more than.
I was gonna say, I've seen them pass with like 900 votes cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
600 to 300,
Right.
but the
But
20%.
a lot of times that is that the people like the budget.
So they don't come out and vote no.
Yeah, usually it's when they want to fight it
Right.
that the numbers come out and
Yeah.
try to reject it.
No, you're
They're
right. They're
motivated
like,
anyway.
it's gonna pass anyway, so.
Why should I go?
Why should I go? Yeah.
So that it might be that if it's a thing this big, that you could get 20% of the voters.
All right, so the deliverable here, right, it sounds like load the calendar and we gotta make it work.
Mhm.
Well, that's the key. We gotta get everybody the information
That,
and,
force it.
and then people will make the decision.
Yes or no on the referendum?
Good.
It could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
it's two different
If-
votes. It's two different votes, but if people have a negative view of the budget,
Yes,
Right.
then they may carry that over.
And that's been a concern I've had all along.
Yeah.
Load the budget. Or load the calendar.
That's why we wanted to try and speed it up for the November. But there was an excuse at every corner as to why we can't do it.
Well, as I read it right now, the expedition or the delay of this is in our hands. Because the two things that are left are the pieces that got to get to Mike by Friday or Monday.
Well, once he gets the numbers, our next meeting, it's our number one priority at that meeting is to
Yeah.
discuss it and
well, even if we have to call a special meeting next week,
Mhm.
Yeah, I
let's
agree.
do it.
Let's do
I
it.
agree.
Were you
So-
surprised that for the, budget or the BOE presentation, that nobody was here? I mean, I know. it was
We had
on
the Board of
TV,
Ed here.
But I thought people would come to that meeting.
They may watch the meeting.
a lot of people
Tomorrow.
watch.
But did they?
Were there a lot
no,
of
more people watch it on tape later, like the
Yeah.
next day. Then
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
a lot of people watch it at work tomorrow.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
they'll wait till someone works from home to comment on it.
No, but I also think that unfortunately what happens in situations like this really has gone on for years and years. And people we're very and then they start losing interest.
Yeah.
And then if there's not information out there, you've got to get a way to draw them back in because they've lost interest.
Look at how Brainerd was when he first came with his
Right.
proposal. You couldn't stand in this.
Right,
There
and
wasn't
then that
room.
P and Z meeting where he wanted other modifications,
Three
three
people-
people. I
three
was
people
there,
showed up.
like, I'm sitting there with 4 people.
Yeah.
So
One of them was me.
Yeah.
Only request I've got, Mike, is that if we have to have a special meeting next week on this, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If we can avoid the
No,
Wednesday,
I can't,
I've got a conflict on Wednesday.
so do I.
If I'll double check with everyone. I will tell you though, I've already reached out to some of the newspapers. River East, I told her to pay attention tonight, so she could put something out there, but I'm gonna talk to them, Middletown Press. We're gonna get a lot of word out there. They're gonna let me put in like a note from the selectmen on whatever's going on, so you'll see it in the paper. We're gonna put a flyer into the paper a couple times, so it'll have all the summary of the data, so it will get out there really hard, really fast. I'll communicate through social media. All of us, I think, here wanted to get out there, so I think we'll all advocate for it and let people know. So we'll put together a plan that we can all get out there and make as much noise.
You and Cheryl have a podcast.
Yeah, well, we're already talking about.
But I still, yeah, Mike, I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass, but I still, with all your talk about social media, I don't hear any press on live speaking in an auditorium. I mean, the last one failed. I think part of the reason it failed, nobody ever got a face-to-face presentation on it. They were told to go to a website and look at 349-page
Right.
spreadsheets.
No one's gonna do that.
They weren't gonna do that.
They want to hear it.
They want to hear, well, you heard Kim say it a couple meetings ago. People want to hear from us.
Of course.
We was
And that
sitting in the cap-
absolutely has to be.
I
part.
remember-
And I think most people will get that information. If they show up, first of all, they're voting with their feet and they need to be
Well,
committed.
the big thing is wherever it is, whenever they're held, the slideshow that we saw,
Yep.
that PowerPoint should be shown.
That's
Because they
the
can-
point with the two numbers that
It's all
we're
numbers.
They
missing.
can see it in black and white and decide. But then also you need to add a couple more once he gets the bond numbers,
Exactly.
this and, you know, the new taxes
So,
and.
and I,
And this is how this will impact your tax bill based on the value of your house, right?
Yep.
Every $100,000 in value is X.
Right.
People can,
Yes.
that's a good way for people to visualize it.
Mhm.
I can tell you when we did all the work on the Route 17 rec complex, we would have, right, this is a larger issue than that. And we had basically half the cafeteria filled for every one of those meetings.
Yeah.
People asking questions, how's it gonna impact the taxes? What are the fun, all the things. That's the kind of meetings we have. And there were things that came out of those meetings where people had concerns that if we didn't address them, they probably would not have supported the project. But because we learned what some of those concerns were early, we could address them. It helped us target as well,
absolutely.
so.
Yeah, that presentation was really good. It kind of,
Yeah.
it played it in a movie format, and then it's missing
Is us.
us.
Yeah.
Right.
Last time, there was a big meeting at the high school, but I took the minutes for it. And there were a lot of people that got up and asked questions. They never got an answer to their question. And I think that's part of the problem too. You gotta give these people an answer to their question.
Of course. Well, and it's gonna get down to money. What's it costing me? Right? What's it costing me? I mean, because I think you could convince people that it has to be done. School's old. you need
The
to
number
modernize it.
one question is cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
That's what.
without a doubt.
Right.
No, people believe.
Because they know.
Believe that even in the consolidation of the schools, I think there is a sentiment out there for that.
Yeah.
But it's the dot,
Right, what's it gonna
it's the
cost?
bottom line.
My only problem with his plan B was it didn't show a school being closed, because plan B should eliminate Brownstone. And that should be $18 million off of that.
Except though, and I was gonna ask that question, Bobby. I'm not sure now, though. You're saying if this were to if it were.
If this fails,
Right,
we're
I
still
don't know
closing the
that we
school.
have space anymore.
we do,
Are you sure?
yes.
Even after they took the modulars
Yes.
off, so if they're.
Valley View used to have pre-K through 2. Charles said it,
Modulars.
without an addition. When I went through there with more kids in the 80s.
But
Gildersleeve
But the
was
size
3,
difference.
4, and 5 with just the square. They had 2 additions put on since
Right.
then. And there's more than enough room for 6th grade to go to the middle school.
Well, that we know for sure.
You
That-
can
that's
close
for sure.
Brownstone. And 5th grade would just be pushed back and 2nd grade would push back to Valley View
You re-
and life would go on.
Town records, they're not gonna get rid of it. They're gonna have other.
But it is much cheaper to maintain as a town building than as a school.
Not to mention that there are, I think.
And the town doesn't have to
When
keep
we
it.
look at it, the plan that they talked about, right, right now we rent, I believe, 2 classrooms. To Oakville. And when you look at what the carrying cost of that building would be, if we expanded that relationship, we probably could cover the carrying costs of that building.
Mhm.
And we could still use that building for other uses.
We would take we'd still have 75% of the building.
We'd still have, right. it would
Or
still-
more.
right. So again, moving, like you talked about, moving the food bank, which needs a larger space, moving Parks and Rec, moving, youth services.
Mhm.
I believe in the last accreditation conversation, the Buck Foreman for the space PD has is undersized. So they would have the room that they would need,
Yeah.
because that audit was done, that accreditation review was done before we added 2 officers. So there
But-
are some things we can
But
solve.
that was the only problem I had with his presentation was
Yeah.
Plan B wasn't 100% accurate.
Wasn't.
Because
Yeah.
when they built the middle school, they were supposed to close a school,
No, you're right. And
but
you're
nobody
right.
could decide which one to do for 15 years or 20 years.
And that's why I'm getting back to what I said a few minutes ago. The first plan that came out of Lou Pear's group never got to a vote. It was pushed through, we did that survey.
'Cause we
that
thought it
got
was a
pushed
bad
to
idea.
Single school option, but if that were voted down and the one school option was properly presented and voted down,
Mhm.
then what he's saying tonight is absolutely correct. If this thing gets voted down, then you're listening to everybody, they want all 4 buildings.
This is the number 2 option from the survey, was close one school and have 2 elementary schools.
Right.
The one mega school was the number 1 option on the
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah, I think
This
that-
plan was number 2 in popularity.
Yeah, and I think the wild card now is that the ability to be able to put 2 buildings to bed for 20 to 25 years with some expanded reimbursements is a real good opportunity for us.
And the other thing,
I think it's
you
great.
gotta consider, I mean, this town doesn't move too quickly.
No,
We have that closing BIS gives us that swing school.
Mhm.
That avoids a lot of the costs for
Yeah.
bringing in modulars.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be a 4 to 5 year process. Within that 5 years, you've got ample time to call together a group and look
Absolutely.
very detailed at what you want to do to BIS, remembering that between the time when this project starts and the time 5 years down the road when this project ends, this town can look entirely different.
Well, that's where I
With
was,
Brainerd Place, with the
Brainerd
spa, with the riverfront. So the town may look at that building as a cash cow for some private
correct.
purpose. But right now, they can't see it.
Mhm.
But we have to make sure that that process continues.
Because
But
I think
that's-
after cost, that'll be the second question,
Right.
is what's happening to biz?
Mhm.
Are we keeping it? Are we selling it?
But
And that's why I think, well, this is where I was trying to finish before was, I think that's why having a viable plan, right? Being able to articulate the fact that we can expand the relationship and carry the building in a way where it's not gonna be a detriment,
Mhm.
right? And we have something that we could use the building for, and we could anticipate other uses. That at least puts a floor underneath the citizens' concern that the building would sit idle, like has happened in other past.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it doesn't preclude us from looking at what market conditions are
Sure.
in 5 years or 6 years or 10 years to do something different. But at least if nothing else, we've got a viable plan to keep that building in good shape, to keep it operational, to keep people in it, so it doesn't become
Well,
a
what John
problem.
and I said
know, going
years
forward.
ago was growing up in the neighborhood next door to Central School and watching that sit vacant for a dozen years and literally on a snowy day like we've had recently, looking out my back window and watching the roof collapse. I
Yeah.
mean, people remember that.
Yeah.
You know, and
So
they
we
don't
need,
want to see that happen again.
so we need to
Especially on
cover it
Main
both
Street.
ways.
Yeah.
Right, but you
Right.
have to be careful in the presentations right now in telling them, you don't know what you're gonna do with brownstones.
No, you
We,
don't.
we don't.
It's 5 years, and Oak Hill might say, I don't have 5 years to wait,
Right.
at least your classrooms.
They-
So
they-
say that's enough, and we know we could move like some town services there, but I was talking to somebody today about this very thing, when you explain it like, well, it's swing space, we've got to use it as swing space, and
We
talk
still
about.
need it for 5 years just to function.
Right.
Just a function.
That's
And
part of the success of this.
now, there are some options in these, what there are, so if they start to understand, it's almost impossible right now to say,
Exactly.
you know what we're gonna do with brown.
No.
No, we don't.
You
Well,
know,
like you said in the meeting, it's saving us so much
Yeah.
money
Mhm.
because we're not renting classrooms
Right.
to house kids in. They're gonna be in a regular school that all their brothers and
Mhm.
sisters and
Right.
family went to.
Right.
So it's a benefit in that way. But it's horrible to our taxpayers that we overbuilt for so many
Yeah.
decades. And we've been paying extra for all these
And
decades.
I know there's the sentiment to Brownstone School, but,
Yeah.
but there, if you talk to people and sort of, and explain it in all the ways that we're saying, they're better about it, because it's real. It's like, it's gonna take us 5 years to move those kids
Yeah.
around.
In
And
the,
things could be very different.
in the task force meeting, I said it a couple times. I said, I kind of came to the conclusion, I completely understand that is a very elegant historic structure. It shows off the Portland brownstone that we're famous for. But what you do with the interior of that building doesn't have to match what the outside looks like. That building could go to a private purpose and it could be spelled out in blood that the outside of that building, the structure of that building remains the same. But somebody in that committee, they said somebody recommended a pocket hotel. And who knows in 5 or 6 years, if the spot takes off and the riverfront takes off and Brainerd Place takes off, that may be a perfect opportunity for it.
It could be another mixed use in 5 or 10
Right.
years. So there's apartments on the second floor and there's restaurants and shops on the first.
Exactly.
Don't know.
Indoor,
Yep.
indoor
Right.
closet.
I think the
That,
most
that's the
important-
one unknown
Yeah.
of this whole
Yeah, an
plan
unknown.
is what's gonna happen with it.
Right, but I guess.
But I think people are more comfortable with one unknown instead of two unknowns with two
Exactly,
schools.
right.
And you explain, again, the need for 5 years and not being able to, people understand that. It's just how the information is presented to people.
Yes.
But it's one unknown that at least we're able to articulate
Yes, we are.
potential plans for us. It's not just, well, we got no.
We have no idea. We
We've
do
got,
have
we have ideas and we have, and we're very cognizant of the fact we have to make sure we do
Well,
something.
one thing we
appropriate.
know it's not in the school, it's overhead.
That's true.
Seriously,
Right,
right?
Right.
True.
yeah.
I got for 2 weeks from now, the monthly report. We're gonna get it 24 to 48 hours in advance
Yes.
with some little
With some
notes.
notes in it.
Financial.
Yes,
Thank
He
you.
can just highlight what he wants us to look at.
That's
so-
it.
absolutely.
Because
Amen.
it's horrible with him standing there and we're
It doesn't-
flipping through pages
doesn't-
trying to
it
find
doesn't.
stuff to ask him.
100%.
And then we don't see him for a month again.
Right.
So
I may even get it to you guys a week before then, because the extra week is.
If we get it on
Yeah.
Monday before a Wednesday meeting,
Well,
Yeah.
as well, because it's new to me and I'm like, he's.
you're always looking at all the percentages on the right side,
He's
seeing where
down,
we're
he's
good,
gonna
where we're
put
bad.
Right, I agree. It makes it more productive for everyone.
Yeah, a week in advance,
Um,
you know.
quick question. Do we not have a sewer plant manager anymore?
Yeah.
We do not.
Oh, the guy that was hired about 4 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's been gone for 3 weeks. That's right. But we never announced that at all.
He's gone.
I saw it in the water and sewer meeting.
Did you really? Yeah.
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 He, it didn't work out. He was there a week and a half. There were some significant issues with him. He actually tried calling back for his job yesterday. And because it was a whole story.
Okay,
I'll tell you offline, stuff like that, but.
so we're looking for one
We're,
again.
we're still looking for one. Kevin's doing a good job right now. Like he understands there's some things. So they've got a system with
Yeah.
what they have right now. Mike's helping out, so it's working.
Okay.
We're still looking for someone, and we do have a potential person, that.
Honestly, I know we've done it in the state. Have we ever thought about having the old one come back on 120 days? So, and it doesn't have to be 120,
Right.
it could be, hey, you gotta come in to work 1 or 2 days a week,
Yeah.
or next week is 3 days, another week is only 1 day.
Yeah.
But he can be hired as a private contractor to fill in and run it until we get a permanent.
Right, that might be a possibility. Jason's kind of coordinating that right now,
Okay.
so he's.
I don't know, I haven't talked to that person,
Yeah,
but I know.
All the time.
I know it's a possibility if that person wants to do it.
right. That may be an option. Right now, right now they're handling it down
Okay.
there, just on top of it, but yes. But I'll fill you. I'll fill
Because
you
it's been coming up on a year, because didn't he retire in April?
out. So because we had someone in there, it reset the clock for a year. So we have, because we actually had someone
Yeah.
in that title. So by the state rules, we now have another year to do it, but obviously we want to get it sooner.
Yeah,
We want to
okay.
find someone else in there, so, yeah, it's part of the equation, but that's layer that in with everything else going on, right?
Yeah.
So,
Hmm,
all right,
okay.
are we ready to check out
Follow
for
up.
tonight? Someone make a motion?
No, follow-up item.
Follow-up items.
Follow-up item, oh yeah, let's go back. All right, I don't have any updates on either one of the follow-up items.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn if everyone's good.
I'll second that if everybody's good.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.